Townsley, St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A monumental victory. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. President Trump calls it a win for the Constitution and the rule of law. The Supreme Court rolling back federal judges' sweeping injunctions against his order ending birthright citizenship.
It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation.
The court's 6-3 opinion does not address the issue of birthright citizenship and allows for more challenges. The court also rules in favor of Maryland parents suing to pull their kids out of lessons involving LGBTQ storybooks. Education Secretary Linda McMahon.
We are proud to see families, not bureaucrats, reclaiming their role in raising their children according to their sincerely held religious beliefs.
The court approves a Texas law requiring age verification to access adult websites.
And another ruling involving a task force that can direct which preventive services a health insurance company must cover. The justices said those task force members can be appointed by the Health and Human Services Secretary, not necessarily the president. The more conservative justices, Alito, Thomas, and Gorsuch, dissented. And the justices agreed the way the FCC charges telecommunication companies to contribute to a fund that helps pay for services in lower income and rural areas is legal. Justices Gorsuch, Thomas, and Alito dissented there. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
China's government confirms more details of a trade deal.
China's now approving the export permits for rare earth minerals specifically to the United States. And this comes after the finalization of the agreement that was made in London. And President Trump revealed the final step that allowed the rare earths to be permitted in his event yesterday.
It's Fox Business correspondent Edward Lawrence at the White House. Defense closing arguments are today. The Sean Diddy Combs racketeering and sex trafficking trial in New York. A Combs attorney calls the prosecutor's case exaggerated and questions the credibility of witnesses. Jurors heard the prosecution's closing arguments yesterday. America's listening to Fox News.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Plenty of heat, plenty of humidity, and a couple of thunderstorms popping up here and there. Heat-driven storms under partly sunny skies. 94 for the high. Just keep an eye on the sky. Not everybody's going to get one. Then tonight, partly to mostly cloudy, couple of thunderstorms, 75. Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny, hot and humid. Each day, a couple of thunderstorms, and each day, 93. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Time to schedule your air conditioner service. Get your entire HVAC system checked for $19 a month with the preferred partner plan and be ready for the first heat wave. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore, That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now properly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
President Trump from the press briefing room just within the last hour. If you've had it here on 97.1 FM Talk, you pretty much heard all of that already, because we broke into coverage to make sure that you could get it as it happened. Happy Friday. Happy to be with you. Beautiful day today. I think we're going to get some rain today. Got some weird rain coming in. It was very sunny.
Well, that's news to me.
Felt like Hawaii. Very sunny. Raindrops, and then it was like, okay, I guess we're done here. So I don't know what else is going to come in this evening, but I think there might be some rain headed our way, hopefully. We've got a great show planned for you this afternoon. Michael Loftus is going to be in with us, comedian and writer. You've seen him, of course, on the Gutfeld show, and he is at the streets of St. Charles. And you know how excited we are to promote these opportunities to go out and genuinely just have an evening of laughter. You need it way more than you realize. You can check out Michael Loftus at the streets of St. Charles this weekend tonight at 7:30 and 9:30, stlewisfunnybone.com. We'll visit with him about 10, 15 minutes from now. He's going to hang out with us for a little bit. So, are you sick of winning yet? Was there anything today that was destructive to Donald Trump's cause?
No.
The Supreme Court was...
This was all wins.
Big wins.
Well, the only thing we don't, at least I don't know from reading about all of this and listening to the press conference, is where actual birthright citizenship stands. But that's not a loss.
But that is not a question that was asked. So,
correct.
So you have that question, like everybody has that question, and Donald Trump has a position on it. His administration has a position on it, which is what he just said there. It was meant for the babies of slaves.
Mm-hmm.
That is an opinion that has been articulated by the president, but other legal scholars as well. Of course, there are quite a few people who would say, no. But that will go to the Supreme Court at another time. What was ruled on today, from the Supreme Court, it just seemed like, in different measuring sense, win after win after win for President Trump. And Greg Jarrett will be with us to start the 1 o'clock hour. He is the top Fox News legal analyst. He is going to walk through these judgments, these rulings with us one at a time. The sitting down of these district judges who have really politicized what they are trying to stop the administration from doing. Big win for the Trump administration, and watching the reaction come through so that we see how legal scholars are talking about this, seeing the frustration on the left regarding how the Supreme Court ruled. As soon as you start seeing the people who are center left to aggressive progressive freak out about the Supreme Court, the makeup of the Supreme Court, you're like, oh, it's a good day. Round of applause. Justice Jackson wrote the dissent in this case of the district judges saying, okay, you can't rule the country from your district judge bench. The dissent that was written by Amy Coney Barrett on this is very entertaining. It is something that I encourage you to read for yourself, but I'm going to share it with you right now because I find it to be amusing, and every time I read it, it makes me chuckle. Here's what in the response to the dissent. This is what Amy Coney Barrett wrote. It's very short. We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. That's a pretty bold sentence in and of itself.
Yeah.
We observe only this. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. To which I want to say, turn to your founding fathers and just say, wow, job well done. The checks and balances in our government structure right now are on full display. And here we have a white woman and a black woman smacking each other around in the Supreme Court of the United States. Look how far we've come, people. Look how far we've come. I mean, really, if you're talking to leftists out there who want to only focus on, gender inequality or segregation or whatever, look, like we have two women on the Supreme Court of varying races leading the charge on what the ruling was and the dissent. This is a big day.
It is a big, big day. It's one of the reasons we wanted to carry this live because it was such a big decision. It affects President Trump for the next 3.5 years, but it'll affect every president. And you always wonder, well, what will this mean if a Democrat's in charge? Well, I would just add that Republican judges have not used this against Democrat presidents the way that Democrat judges have used this against Republican presidents. So in that sense, this is a big win for fairness and for, as Justice Barrett said, against judicial tyranny.
You can understand that it's not tit for tat in that regard either, because there's a portion of the Republican Party is like, do what they do.
Yes.
Do it. And it seems as though the restraint for the Republicans is just a little bit more, not always perfect, not batting 1,000 there. I go back to Will Chamberlain's suggestion, and I haven't seen these comments yet quite at this moment, but the whole weekend will probably reach into this type of hysteria before we get there. Pack the court. They'll look to pack the court the next time they have the opportunity to do so. And I asked Will Chamberlain of the Article 3 Project this months ago, and I just said, hey, listen, they always talk about this when the left is in charge of the Senate, the presidency, you get nominations, you get the power to actually approve these judges in the Senate that are appointed or nominated, I should say, by the executive branch. And Will Chamberlain's response was, here's what Republicans should do. They should put forth an amendment that codifies 9 justices on the Supreme Court, because that's not actually in the Constitution that there are 9. That's just what we do. You could change it. You could put more on there. It's not unconstitutional to put more on there, but you can go back to maybe the 70s when Joe Biden was in the Senate and he was talking about court packing, and he says, it was a boneheaded idea. And then he became president and he was like, maybe we should pack the court. And then everyone's like, look, he's got dementia. His mental faculties are waning. And Jake Tapper was like, nuh-uh. And then Jake Tapper wrote a book about how nobody paid attention to the mental faculties waning. And then he made a lot of money on it. And now we're here.
That's pretty much the history from 1972
the
till
whole
now.
History.
Yeah.
The entirety of it.
You've covered it.
Thank you. I think we're done.
Yeah, we got a really fun show coming up for you.
Somebody should do it. You have this back and forth political ping pong ball that goes back and forth about packing the court. The Republicans are like, don't do it. It's a boneheaded idea. Joe Biden was like, don't do it. It's a boneheaded idea. And then he wanted to do it because he was in power. And I said to Will Chamberlain, Republicans have the Senate. Republicans have the executive office. Is court packing bad? Because if it were bad, we should maybe do something about it while we have the chance. And he said, this is what you do. You put an amendment out there that says the Supreme Court should have 9 people on it. And if the Democrats don't vote in full against it, you pack the court before they do.
It's brilliant.
And I went, whoa. I had to walk away from my microphone when he said that. I'm like, that is a really, really brilliant idea. That is a calling of the bluff in a big, magnificent way. And I really think that is something that could be done if the Republicans don't get walloped in the Senate in the second half of Trump's second term. That's the type of stuff that I would like to tidy up in our government before we risk the worst case scenario after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep it 9? You're against court packing? You don't want the Republicans to do it? Then let's handshake right now and put some ink on it and make it so that neither can do it. Dunsky.
I mean, we were very, very close to this already happening. Chuck Schumer was trying very hard to not only add states, but pack the court.
Yeah.
And was trying to get rid of the Senate filibuster. So it's not as if this is way out of left field. It almost happened other than for Joe Manchin.
It's their idea.
Yes.
They're the ones who want to do it. This is how we prevent them from doing so. Let's just go real quick before we take a break and get to Michael Loftus here in studio in just a minute. I like to go step outside of Fox News and see what other folks are saying. Axios reporting on the Supreme Court rulings from earlier today. The Supreme Court on Friday imposed new limits on lower courts' ability to freeze federal policy, specifically President Trump's effort to eliminate birthright citizenship in the United States. Axios, why it matters. Lower courts have issued dozens of orders freezing parts of Trump's agenda, and bipartisan criticism of such sweeping rulings has been building for years. The Supreme Court 6-3 ruling, written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, fell along ideological lines. That's always annoying to me. Driving the news, every district court to consider Trump's executive order aiming to eliminate birthright citizenship has said it's probably unconstitutional, and their decisions have been applied universally, freezing the policy in its entirety. District courts don't have the power to do that, according to the Supreme Court now. Barrett wrote, when a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power to. Elfine.
That means all done.
The end.
In France?
Ish. We covered history. Now we're covering world language.
Yeah. It's going to be a full show.
We're going to bring Michael Loftus in here to elevate the room. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Comedian, writer, at Michael Loftus Comic on X. Follow the Loftus Party on YouTube. We're excited to have him come in here and react to the news of the day. And I don't really care. It's Friday. It's a good Friday. Whatever he wants. Check out his shows this weekend at the Streets of St. Charles. You want to get on to stlewisfunnybone.com right now and reserve your tickets, 7:30 and 9:30 tonight, Saturday night, 6 and 8:30, Sunday, 6 o'clock, stlewisfunnybone.com to get your tickets. But Michael Loftus in studio with us next.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Mark Cox here. Let me introduce you to my friends at the Lit Cigar Lounge in St. Louis, where luxury meets comfort. Premium hand-rolled cigars, an extensive selection of rare bourbons and whiskeys and craft cocktails. It's comfortable for non-smokers, too. They have a state-of-the-art ventilation system. They have private lockers and live music every Friday night, perfect for date nights or business meetings or just winding down. Visit litstl.com.
Spring into a new home with amazing savings at TR Hughes. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with TR Hughes Homes, and we are currently offering half off up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs on brand new to-be-built homes at select TR Hughes communities. That's right, half up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs. Visit trhughes.com for details.
The choice of a home builder is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
However, you really should visit trhughes.com.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Get ready, St. Louis. After the final out on Friday, July 25th, the party keeps going at Busch Stadium when Flo Rida takes the stage as part of the post-game concert series presented by SIUE. Your game ticket is your concert ticket. Want the ultimate experience? Upgrade to a VIP pass and catch the show from the field. It's a night of baseball and beats at the ballpark. For details, visit cardinals.com/postgame.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game, it's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody, it's our favorite song.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
And it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire.
Well, a very serious conversation upon us here in the studio. Michael Loftus has invaded the studio. We are so excited to have him here, and you can see him tonight in person, 7:30 and 9:30 this evening at the streets of St. Charles. Go to stlewisfunnybone.com and grab your tickets before they're gone. I know some of you out there want the earlier show, so you better go get your tickets right now. But the second show might be better than the first. How do they go, Michael, when you have two shows? How does it compare one to the other?
It's apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges. It's two different experiences, and each one has a subtle variation. No, they're both going to be a blast. You can't lose.
You can't lose.
Either way.
Friday night at the streets of St. Charles, Saturday 6 and 8:30, Sunday at 6 o'clock. So we were just chatting before you came on here about what you wanted to talk about. Of course, we know you from the Gutfeld Show. A lot of people listening right now recognize your voice. If they're watching us on the YouTube channel, they'll certainly recognize your face. Do you pay attention to politics outside of comedy?
Oh, absolutely.
What
I really do. I have a whole website, theloftusparty.com. That's politics, entertainment, video games, all of it.
What's your video game of choice?
Oh my goodness. You're going to have a hard time beating the Legend of Zelda. I'm a big Zelda guy.
OG? Like Nintendo?
Yeah. The Nintendo Switch is a fine machine.
Yes, it is.
However,
do you have the two?
Yes. And then Death Stranding just came out, Death Stranding 2, which is a lot of fun, and Hideo Kojima does wonderful work.
My son is sold.
Yes. Well, I worked in Hollywood for a long time, and I'm one of these guys who's like, I firmly believe that video games and television and entertainment, that's all going to get mixed up together. That's all going to be one big giant
How's that work?
How's it work?
What do you mean by video games and entertainment?
Well, you're going to have, what would you rather do? Would you rather spend $25 to watch a Spider-Man movie, or would you rather spend $40 and you can be Spider-Man and swing around New York City?
Yeah.
And then when you start getting AI into the mix and all that, I think the future is going to be really, really wild.
New York City is going to need a Spider-Man pretty soon when they don't have any police officers anymore.
When the amazing Zohan takes over? Oh, yeah. I wrote a thing about the amazing Zohan yesterday.
You don't mess with the Zohan.
Don't mess with the Zohan. And he's talking about, the city. These grocery stores, they're just in for profits. They're in for profit. The city's going to run. Oh, yes, that's what I want. I want to go in and buy bananas with all the fun that is the DMV, right? Oh, you want Golden Delicious apples? I need a 7th grade report card. Where's your birth certificate?
I lamented the real ID process. That was not fun to go through that.
No. And then when you go to the airport now, it's getting crazy out there. I always refuse the picture. They're like, oh, it's real ID, but you can refuse to have your picture taken. I always do it, and they get so mad. Do
they say things, or do they just look at you a certain way?
Stand over here. And then they ask you, what's your flight number? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not flying the plane. I'm just riding. I don't have my pilot's license either. Just hand us your ID. I don't want you to have my picture.
What do you think they're going to do with it?
Well, there's a lot of things they could do. All of it's like nefarious and not good. But once again, with AI and facial swapping and all that other stuff, the government could just put you on a security camera anywhere they wanted to. You could be framed for crimes, all kinds of horrible
You've
things.
thought this through. Are you, you're on the right side of the wings, as I understand it.
Yes.
Are you a self-proclaimed conspiracy theorist, or are you just, if you're on the right wing, to the
Here's
left,
what
we're
happens.
all conspiracy theorists.
Conspiracy theory is the chicken nugget of politics. You eat one, and then you're like, oh, I want more of these.
Yeah.
And once you crack the seal on conspiracy theories, it's just a rabbit hole. And then it's all about, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. So you have to kind of parse them out nice and easy.
Yeah, you just kind of dip your toe in publicly.
Yeah, you've heard about the two shooters with John Kennedy, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Why is that not everywhere in the news?
Yeah.
Like, that was like last week that came out. And it's like, who was the congressman who was like, he always does the videos when he's walking out of a vote.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just came out of a hearing. And they got the interview with the guy who did the autopsy on Kennedy. Yep, 2 bullets, 2 shooters. I don't know what to tell y'all. And then that's the end.
And then you move on with your day.
What?
We got Michael Loftus in studio with us right now. He's a comedian and writer, as he's mentioned, the loftusparty.com destination website there. Go check it out. You can watch him this evening at the Streets of St. Charles, 7:30 and 9:30 tonight, 6 and 8:30 Saturday, 6 o'clock Sunday, stlewisfunnybone.com for tickets. Do you reside in New York City? Where's home base for you?
Home base is now Ohio for me.
God bless you.
I left New York just in the nick of time. That's the other reason I don't want the government to have my picture. Like, I left L.A. in the nick of time.
Yeah?
And
Have you been a coastie your whole life?
No, grew up in Ohio, moved out to Los Angeles in 98, lived out there, and then was writing on television shows, and then the writing took me to New York, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I was out living on Long Island, so it's like you could watch the crap show that was Manhattan from afar. It was like having a seat to the show.
Sure.
Like, ooh, look at them in there, like little rat people running around. Look how they're wearing masks and coughing. They're so worried.
And you're sitting there watching them from afar. That's perfect.
Yes.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. Michael Loftus in studio with us right now on 97.1 and at the Streets of St. Charles this evening. stlewisfunnybone.com. Run and get your tickets because we're going to try to sell them out before this interview is over. So you need to hurry up and make sure you get your show of choice before they are all full up. stlewisfunnybone.com. Michael Loftus in studio with us here. You know him from the Gutfeld Show and other places. We're so glad that he's here with us right now. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went
You're
higher.
listening to Leaf Filter
And it
Radio,
burns,
and the
burns.
guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-355-8282. That's 800-355-8282. Again, that's 800-355-8282.
What's your favorite four-letter word? Chances are you've said it more than a few times dealing with this crazy world we live in. But at Compass Retirement Solutions, our four-letter word of choice is hope. Hope for a better tomorrow. And hope that your retirement plans don't take a back seat. You've watched inflation soar. And maybe your retirement future feels a little uncertain right now. But all hope is not lost. Find out exactly how much risk you're still taking with your investments. Find out how you may be able to save big on taxes. And find out how having a written retirement plan just might give you the hope you've been looking for. Call today to set up a meeting. 314-373-1598. That's 314-373-1598. Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services but does not provide tax advice. Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory firm in Missouri and Illinois. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. And you know, your home is your sanctuary. You need to take the first step to peace of mind with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from the #1 Generac generator dealer in the country, Generator Supercenter. We learned the hard way here in St. Louis during the tornado recently that power can be knocked out. But even outside of that, what if the power grid fails and it's 100 degrees here in St. Louis? You don't want to be that person. Get with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis today. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com. Tell them that we sent you along.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. Thanks for being with us this Friday afternoon. There is fun happening tonight, especially if you show up. stlewisfunnybone.com. Come see Michael Loftus show at 7:30 and 9:30. Hurry up. Tickets are going fast here, so I want to make sure you get in there. We're going to fill the place with Annie Fry Show listeners. You'll be among some friends that you haven't met yet. Saturday, 6 and 8:30. Sunday at 6 o'clock. stlewisfunnybone.com. Michael Loftus, comedian and writer. So talk to me about what it's like to be a conservative in comedy in... we were talking off air about how you were doing the Hollywood thing and Hollywood finds out you're conservative. That's a game changer.
Well, yeah. That was it literally made the news. That's how I met Greg Gutfeld. I was down at the Improv, on Melrose. And every comic was going up talking about how they hated George Bush. George Bush is the worst. He's a dumb cowboy. Like 9 comics in a row. And I'm like, how boring is that?
Yeah.
So I go on stage and I'm like, George Bush is the best president we've ever had. I want him on Mount Rushmore. Oh, Al-Qaeda. Right? And so it was hilarious.
It's funny that's the other word you associate with George Bush.
Well, they used to be Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's back when you were allowed to hate him. Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
It had that like a Nazi, like a dog bark. Pow! I had to kill it. It had rabies. And then they switched to Taliban.
Yeah.
And that's the branding. Taliban. You can't hate the Taliban. It's too sing-songy.
Not in Hollywood.
No, it sounds like a calypso group at a Holiday Inn somewhere.
We're the Taliban. Hey, Mr. Taliban, tally me banana.
Close.
Yes. So that show got a write-up, like in the Hollywood Reporter and Variety, like this comic Michael Loftus was actually on stage defending George Bush, and I'm like, what in the heck?
Can you imagine?
And then Greg had started this show on Fox called Red Eye, and so my manager was like, hey, they want to have you on this show called Red Eye, but it's on Fox News. And I'm like, I'll do it.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Be a liar my whole life and pretend like I don't have a core value system? So yeah, I did.
Are you saying there are people doing that?
What? Are there people lying in public office? Yes, so that's how I met Greg. I would do Red Eye. I would be on the by satellite. They have a little laundry room in West Hollywood where you sit, and there's a green screen, and so that's how I met Gutfeld. And then years later, I was writing on a show that was filming in New York, and so I'm like, hey, Gutfeld people, I'm back in town. And he had given Red Eye to Tom Shalhoub, great guy, funny guy. And Greg's like, hey, I'm doing a Saturday night show, if you wouldn't mind doing that. And I'm like, I'd love to. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
And so I've just been delighted with his success because he's the canary in the coal mine. And he's the thing where, the vast majority of the country is just common sense. And it is the coastal elites and the frickin' brainiacs who are ruining everything good about this country. So I love it, being on. The way it timed out, I was on the first show where he managed to beat Stephen Colbert in the ratings.
Did you take credit for that? You should.
I do. I really do. I think it's me. It's my sensibility. It's my lack of a Trump impression. I don't do Trump. I do Christopher Walken.
That's good.
Really?
But it works kind of the same. It's the same cadence. We're going to make America great again. We're going to bomb Iran. We got rid of the nukes.
That's Christopher Walken as Trump.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I don't do. Donald
Michael
Trump.
Loftus knows his lanes. You have to understand.
Clearly.
When you see a vacant lane, Christopher Walken doing Donald Trump, you sprint to that, you do it, and then nobody else can do it.
That's right. They tried to kill me in Butler. I have. And then I don't do Joe Biden. I do Jimmy Stewart. Which
Okay.
It's, right? Yeah, I'm having a battle with these. Yeah. Hey. I'm trying to fall up these stairs 3 or 4 times. My Hunter's a painter. He's a talented kid when he's not painting and running energy companies in Ukraine. Hey, there's a ghost in here. Who am I talking to? Dr. Jill, help me out. I think I soiled something.
Uh-oh.
They ate my Uncle Bosie. They were cannibals. They rubbed my legs. I like children to touch my legs when I'm at the pool.
The weird thing is how that string of consciousness is so disjointed. That is how he talked.
Yes.
And now people are finding out on the left. I don't think he was there.
I love that.
Yeah?
I love the
Do you feel vindicated?
The fake surprise. Jake Tapper. I was so fooled. I need to write a book. What? What?
Is he brilliant?
Jake Tapper?
Yeah.
I think it's all a giant. I think they laugh. They must howl with laughter when they go home at night. And then I pretended like he was fine. I went on CNN. I'm like, he's sharp as a tack. Then I acted surprised that he was completely out of his mind. Now I'm writing a book about it and getting paid. I
mean, I question his character and credibility as a human, but as a businessman,
he's a charlatan and a fraud. He's a complete charlatan. But as a businessman, yes, why not get rich? Why not get paid on both sides of the equation?
something they hate Donald Trump for, being a smart businessman. Michael Loftus speaking with us right now. He's going to be at the streets of St. Charles, Funny Bone this evening, stlewisfunnybone.com. Grab your tickets. You were talking to us about how you've been able to take, getting the boot out of Hollywood because you thought wrong, essentially.
Yeah.
And then you've really worked through COVID to create something. And all of the hardships that conservatives have dealt with. We stream our show on YouTube every day.
Yep.
And I can't imagine if we wouldn't have gone through those COVID years and the Joe Biden encouragement to censor people like us and like you, where our channel would be right now. We've got 12,000 subscribers. Yay for that. But
Yeah.
we got strikes, on the channel because we would talk about COVID. How are you a Fox News Radio affiliate station in St. Louis? And you can't say the word vaccine. You can't say COVID. You can't say any of this stuff. We still did. We got strikes. You've
Yes.
pushed through that.
Well, I've been very, very careful, and I wrestle with it. I honestly do. And I think it's because I wrote for network TV shows, and the network heads would be like, you can't do this, you can't do that, don't say this. So I always look at it, that's kind of the challenge. Okay, so how do I navigate this landscape and play by their rules and still win? So it's been really tricky. There's certain words that I stayed away from. I never said COVID. I always called it the Wuhan,
That was approved?
They never caught on. The AI is getting smarter. You used to be able to if there were certain code words that I figured out, like if you said the word liberty, that was a red flag. So you would just use code words for everything. But my favorite was the Wuhan, because I gave it the old Karate Kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so you've worked through a lot of the challenges that a lot of people who have conservative voices, and again, you said this, we reflect a large portion of this country, obviously a majority of this country now, because we just polled everybody in an election last November, and you've created an app now, and people can check it out. This is kind of breaking Michael Loftus news here.
Well, what I realized is that the internet still is the Wild West, and you can just make things. So I don't have any faith in Hollywood. I think there's very good, very funny, very talented people, and there'll be good products being made, but it's just it's woke from the bottom to the top. So during COVID, I started slipping back into Donald Walken there. During COVID, some friends of I going crazy, lockdowns and all that stuff and doing shows. Some friends of mine and we did like a sketch comedy show, which is like Saturday Night Live, but it was leaning towards the right. And we literally just filmed it in the studio in front of a studio audience of people who showed up, and it was a lot of fun. And my buddies and I were like, we should do something with this. So, let's put it online. But we knew by the nature of the jokes, we would get, YouTube would shut us down, blah, 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 blah. So we ended up getting our own servers. And they're independent servers. We couldn't be unplugged, so we could be uncensored. So we were doing the show, and people were subscribing, and, we want to watch this. And we were calling it That Show Tonight, because we're not very creative people. But my buddy Jim Brewer came by. He did an episode. We had musical guests. And then it occurred to me, after we'd done a few episodes, like, wow, if we can do one show, we could probably show movies as well, and we could show other stand-ups. And so we took a step back and we created this website called Studio TST, which we want to be Netflix for anybody who's creative.
That's awesome.
I don't want to put any kind of limitations on anybody.
Are you saying you don't have to be conservative?
No, I just want it to be good. I just want it to be good.
That's so exciting.
And entertain people. It's horrible. Like, friends of mine had deals with Disney, and they would tell me, don't even go close, because you're going to be hamstrung. You're going to be hemmed in. And I've written on shows for Netflix where you get hemmed in. And it's like, I just want creative people to be creative.
Sure.
And keep your woke messaging out of it.
Yeah.
Just try to tell a good story. That's already hard enough. So now the app Studio TST, there was a whole process with Google and iTunes and Apple, and then there was lawsuits and this, that, and the other thing. But we finally managed to make it on.
That's
so
awesome.
We're in the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. That just happened a few days ago.
I'll be downloading it as soon as we're done talking to you here, because
I'm pretty stoked.
I'm so excited for people who saw that challenge and didn't give up on it, because it takes a lot of money and time and effort and resolve to say.
And a lot of stubborn stupidity. And that's where I come in.
Thank you for that.
Stubborn and stupid.
Do you think that where we are right now, I feel like Donald Trump has really shattered kind of the woke reflex that this country has had? Like, people now at least can have an option as to how they want to react. You don't have to be like openly anti-woke, but you also don't have to suffer through what people want to put upon you. Will that seep into mainstream media? You mentioned Disney, other places like that, where they stop trying to shove messages down your throat with every piece of content that they put out, that they do start doing what you're talking about.
No, they're not going to stop. They'll never stop.
This is the new world.
Yes, and that's why they just won't be as overt about it. But it's never going to stop. It's it's the thing that made me kind of tap out is they don't care about money. Money used to be the great equalizer. You would go in and like, okay, so Disney, you lost a fortune. You made Toy Story woke. You've ruined Marvel. You've ruined Star Wars with these horrible, it's bad writing and it's horrible messaging. Are you going to stop? And they're like, no. I mean, they have another, they just came out with this new girl Iron Man show, Ironheart, which is just more woke. It's not going to stop. And people think it's like an old way of thinking. Oh, when the money starts going away, then they'll change. No, they'll just pull back a little bit. And it's pervasive. It's everywhere. When a little kid goes to school, they'll still get woke. I mean, Trump he's gonna be like, you're not allowed to teach that stuff. They'll just change the name of the program.
Yeah.
And they'll keep, so a parent can't be everywhere at all times. And they're like, okay, your kid just came home from school. Now they're going to watch something it's on the program they're watching. It's just never ending.
It is exhausting.
So you can shake your fist at the sky, or you can actually get up and do something about it. And that's why I've become friends with John Rich, who's a great dude. And I love that guy because he's like, they're debanking people. They were deplatformed, just like we're going to not give you access to your money. So John Rich and some of his buddies came up with Old Glory Bank. Okay, we'll never deplatform you. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. It's like Little Rascals. You start a bank, I'll start a movie studio.
Well, it's fantastic. One more time for people to go download that app. Very exciting that this has just been formalized and you fought all of the men at Apple and Google and were able to succeed. The name of it once again?
Studio TST.
Awesome. Well, I will definitely be checking that out. I love all those people you mentioned. Jim Brewer is of the SNL that I grew up with. And didn't he act like a goat?
Oh, yeah, Goat Boy.
Goat Boy is like Jim Brewer. Goat Boy is first, and then I remember it's Jim Brewer. But to have that kind of a laughing, that's true, laughing effect.
He was working with Dave Chappelle when it wasn't cool.
Oh, man, it's so cool. Well, Michael Loftus, an honor and a pleasure to have you in here with us.
It's been great to be here. We should do it again.
I would love that. Anytime you're in St. Louis, you're welcome here, especially tonight in the streets of St. Charles, 7:30 and 9:30 this evening. Get those shows sold out right away, Annie Fry Show audience. People, when you go into this room, if you've never been before, and I know a lot of you listening are like, comedy club, I've never done that. You're missing out. I've seen several of the folks that we've had come in here, and it's the most fun. I didn't realize how much I needed to laugh, and then you laugh for the whole show. You can do that tonight at the streets of St. Charles, Saturday 6 to 8:30, Sunday 6 o'clock. Your tickets at stlewisfunnybone.com. Michael Loftus, go see him. Tell him Annie said hi. We'll be right back.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholt of Kaufman Townsley. We've won the trust of thousands of clients who are victims of careless drivers. We have the team, the talent, and the tenacity to get you the money you deserve. Call 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon, and whether you're looking for independent living, assisted living, or memory care, New Perspective gives you the freedom to live the life you love with just the right support. Beautiful apartments, amazing dining, plenty of activities. Check out npseniorliving.com today. New Perspective Senior Living, a friendlier approach to senior living.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. They'll haul away your old garage door and give you instant credit towards a new insulated door. $200 for the first garage door and $100 for each additional door. Cash in your old entry door too. It's Cash for Clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Convenient, free, in-home estimates. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200.
Hold up a sec. If I work today, why should I have to wait 2 weeks to get my money? With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors available in select states. Expedited transfer is available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
It is 12:51. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Friday afternoon is the big, beautiful bill in the Senate on life support. Just one of the topics for the Reardon Roundtable. Jane Duker, State Rep Steve Butts, the former mayor of Ferguson, James Knowles, all on the panel. It starts at 3.
Weekdays from 3 to 6. This is the Annie Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show. The bee or not the bee.
All right, these are all stories that are either fake from the Babylon Bee or they are real. I'll read the headline. You got to tell me which is which. First one, Supreme Court legalizes Trump presidency.
I'm trying to think of the different cases because that could be a bee. Bee?
Bee?
Yeah, this is the B. In a 6-3 decision, the court held that since Trump was in fact elected to be president, his ability to do president things was protected under the law.
President
Quote,
things. Article 9.
This court hereby rules that a president can be president, wrote Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who penned the decision for the majority. By virtue of being president, that person is the president. I can't freaking believe I'm having to explain this.
Was there any disagreement from Ketanji Brown Jackson on it?
Oh, were you wondering? Yes, there was. Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote a scathing dissent for the minority, arguing that she really didn't like that presidents could just do stuff, and also it was very unfair how pretty Justice Barrett is for her age.
Her age?
Seems like there's
a
deeper issue here.
It does. It kind of took a turn there.
Yeah, it did.
Says, quote, I'm really getting sick of looking at her still youthful face, wrote Jackson.
How old do you think she is?
57.
56.
$1. Brad, any guesses?
Amy Coney Barrett, 59.
53.
53.
I was the closest.
For her age.
Get the
You guys
dollar?
all thought she looked older, so I guess that proves
We
the
thought
point.
she looked younger, so we had to guess older.
Yeah, we did. All right, next one. Defeated Cuomo left groping for answers.
Oh.
Real.
Real, but B.
You know, I think the most offensive thing about Governor Cuomo is that the thing that he actually lost his governorship for is not the thing that he should have lost his governorship
No,
for.
it really isn't.
It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. He had a sex scandal. I forgot all about that when he was killing old people.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You'd think that would be the lead.
It's not.
B.
B. It is the B. Cuomo reportedly gathered his advisors close together so he could get a really good feel of what happened. Quote, I'm looking for answers, trying to really get my hands on it, said a dejected Cuomo. It's a tough loss. We're going to go back to the drawing board and touch on every little thing we did.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
You get the joke.
I get it.
Why does the B have more creative writing than literally any outlet out there right now?
That one was great.
That was so
Because
good.
their job does itself.
It was really good. Pete Hegseth vows military will not discriminate against chicks, broads, or dames.
B. I saw this one. It's funny.
That's correct. According to Hegseth, the whole thing was just a big misunderstanding. Quote, I congratulated our boys in the bombers because there were boys in those planes, not because I hate dames, he said. But you're right. I should have acknowledged the Vixens providing support over the radio. They're our pilot's greatest cheerleaders.
I wish that that's terrible. I wish that somebody else would have piled on to Pete Hegseth because he called them boys and not men.
Ooh, didn't even think about that.
Yeah. It's because you're a man and you don't care.
Nope.
You know, it would have been like an old white lady who would have been like, did you call them boys?
Exactly. Iran's supreme leader claims victory in Israel conflict.
Real.
Boys.
Real.
Yeah, sure, real.
It is real. They may have lost 974 people, 30 senior commanders, 15 top nuclear scientists, a bunch of military facilities, but they totally won, according to Israel's supreme leader. For context, look at the other side. Israel's losses, 28 casualties, 3,238 wounded, 1 power station, 1 oil refinery, 1 university. At the bottom of the article, it says, man, I'd really hate to see what these numbers would look like if Iran had lost. We got another minute?
1 minute, yeah.
All right. WNBA players use Caitlin Clark's head as a ball.
Say that again.
WNBA players use Caitlin Clark's head as a ball.
Gosh, I don't know. This could be a real headline coming out of sports reporting. I'm saying real.
That's not a bad guess.
I'm going to go B.
It's the B.
Is it like a real story from Barstool?
No, it
Dave
is
Portnoy
the B.
loves him some Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, no, but it's the B. Aggressive physical play dominated throughout the Indiana Fever's 88-71 victory of the Connecticut Sun, so much so that referees failed to notice that at one point in the second half, Connecticut players were dribbling Clark's head instead of a basketball.
We're trying to get Fever tickets for my daughter to go see a game. We're willing to travel. If anybody has any tips about how to get or where to go, we'll travel for Fever basketball. Can you believe that we're at a place where I'm saying that about the WNBA? It's amazing. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham. Man, it's awesome. Greg Jarrett next.
I'm Ultima Morgan. Every year, almost 30,000 babies in America are born with birth injuries. It's every parent's worst nightmare. If your child suffered a birth injury, please call our firm to find out if we can help.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Lifestyles Unlimited, the education and mentoring group with a roadmap and support to help you real estate retire.
Having the consulting team, having other avenues within your whole system is what's made y'all successful. Everyone is there to guide you to be successful. So it's just up to you to get off the butt and do it.
Do it. Take action today. Get educated now at Lifestyles Unlimited. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join for $297, a 60% savings. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
Mark Cox here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how to link to the market without the risk. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go online to retirementkey.com. If you worry your roof may be damaged from the recent storms, don't trust just anyone. Call my friend Curtis at Corel Roofing for all your repairs. Mark Cox here. Watch out for those out-of-town storm chasers. They hire anybody they can pull together quickly. Corel Roofing is local, and they have crews with over 20 years of experience in the business. They don't overcommit. When other roofing companies do that, quality suffers and customer service drops off. They pay a lot of attention to details. They use quality materials, and you can trust their workmanship. I'm trusting Curtis Correll to fix my roof. You can trust him as well. They also specialize in all the luxury line roofing, slate, architectural shingles, metal roofs, and other luxury shingles. He's done work for a friend of mine, and it's outstanding. You can call him at 314-222-9529. That's 222-9529, or on Facebook at Correll Roofing.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
An abuse of power. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News.
Well, this really brings back the Constitution. This is what it's all about.
And the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 opinion, says lower court judges went too far with rulings blocking President Trump's order ending birthright citizenship. Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House.
A 6-3 decision by the justices says universal injunctions issued by district court judges likely exceed the equitable authority Congress has given federal courts. The challenge comes from a case involving President Trump's executive order denying citizenship to children born in the U.S., the parents in the country illegally. Federal judges have called that unconstitutional, but the Supreme Court opinion does not take up that question, and the executive order will remain on hold for 30 days.
That allows time for more challenges. The last day of the Supreme Court's term, Court 6-3 as well, siding with Maryland parents suing to get their kids out of lessons using LGBTQ-themed storybooks.
The court rightfully held that schools cannot shut parents out or disregard their religious obligations to their children.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon there. Also 6-3, an opinion upholding age verification to access adult websites in Texas.
The companies that own the websites sued and said this requirement infringes on the free speech rights of adults. The justices decided that this Texas law only incidentally burdened the protected speech of adults, as the intent is to protect minors.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. House Speaker Mike Johnson after a classified briefing on Iran and U.S. airstrikes on nuclear facilities.
They relayed very important information and answered a lot of the questions that were in the minds of members of the House here, and I know they did the same in the Senate yesterday.
Some Democrats, though, still express skepticism about the strike's effectiveness. President Trump says the U.S. is immediately ending trade talks with Canada in response to the country's new digital services tax on American technology companies. Calls it a direct and blatant attack on our country. America's listening to Fox News.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Plenty of heat, plenty of humidity, and a couple of thunderstorms popping up here and there. Heat-driven storms under partly sunny skies. 94 for the high. Just keep an eye on the sky. Not everybody's going to get one. Then tonight, partly to mostly cloudy, couple of thunderstorms, 75. Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny, hot and humid. Each day, a couple of thunderstorms, and each day, 93. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is hiring licensed journeymen. Don't have a journeyman license? Air Comfort Service will help you get it. Get guaranteed hours year-round and more. Apply online at aircomfortservice.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry
This
Show.
is really also a decision based on common sense. It didn't work the other way. It was a disaster where somebody from a certain location in a very liberal state or a liberal judge or a liberal group of judges could tie up a whole country for years because their decision would sometimes take years to overturn. We've overturned many of the decisions, but it would take years to do it. And we have to act quickly when it comes to illegal immigration. We have murderers, killers, we have drug dealers, we have what they've allowed to come into our country should never be forgotten. It should never be forgotten what they've done to our country. And we have to be able to act very quickly, and we're going to do that. Thank
President Trump from the briefing room this morning in wake of the Supreme Court rulings that were announced this morning. And we do always try to make sure we connect you with the experts on these issues. And Greg Jarrett joins us now, Fox News legal analyst, former defense attorney and law professor, author of The Constitution and Other Patriotic Documents. Greg Jarrett, welcome back to the show.
Oh, good to be with you, Annie. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. It looks like, if people are watching this like it's a sporting event, that Donald Trump had a big win today through the Supreme Court. What was your assessment of how the Supreme Court chose to rule on the specific issue he was talking about there with the power of district judges? But you can add in some of the other rulings if you so choose.
Well, I always thought this would be an easy decision for the Supreme Court because for decades, both liberal and conservative justices have criticized these lower court district judges for abusing their authority and issuing nationwide injunctions. But the High Court never did anything about it. They just complained about it. But because in the last 5 months, the Supreme Court itself has become overwhelmed by these injunction appeals, they were finally forced to reckon with a broken system that they had allowed to go on for too long, for the better part of 6 decades. And the only solution was to rein in the abuse and set limits on these district judges, which is what they did. And, you know, I thought it was a very good opinion written by Amy Coney Barrett. She pointed out that there is absolutely nothing in the law that allows district judges to order anything beyond their own physical district. I mean, their jurisdiction is narrowly defined under the Constitution. They may decide cases and controversies before them, which means they may not issue orders nationwide that impact millions of people who never set foot inside that judge's courtroom.
Greg,
so, you know.
Just to follow up on what you're explaining here, we're speaking with Greg Jarrett. Does that mean that does President Trump get to put the pedal to the metal on the procedures he was going through to try to remove illegal immigrants from our country right now? Does he get to accelerate what he was doing because of this ruling?
Yes, I think he does. But equally important is the Supreme Court ruling on Monday of this week, in which they opened the door and said, go right ahead to deport people, immigrants, back to a country that's not their own, a third-party country. And you can do it with almost no notice, limited notice, which is not a full due process procedure in the conventional sense. So that means expedited removal. You can send them anywhere you want, other than their home country, if there's a problem there. And, you know, so I think this will accelerate the deportations.
Interesting. So another element of today and what people have been watching with the Supreme Court, the term birthright citizenship has been attached to these rulings, but the rulings weren't on birthright citizenship and the absolute definition of that as it is. It seems as though the president is still going to pursue that and wants a more clear understanding of how the Supreme Court feels about it. Can you talk to us a little bit about whether birthright citizenship looks like it will immediately find its way to the Supreme Court, or what would need to happen in order for that to take place?
Well, I think sooner rather than later, because the case is already before the Supreme Court. But instead of ruling on the merits, what Barrett said is we're just ruling on the remedy, the procedure. It's basic civil procedure 101 in law school your first year. And they'll get to the merits of birthright citizenship, probably in the next term. Yeah, I wrote, I guess it was in January, maybe it was February, a column that said, there's actually a legitimate basis for denying birthright citizenship to people here illegally and their children. And I would invite people to read that because I went through the legislative history of the 14th Amendment and identified its original purpose, and it does not include people here illegally. So it'll be an interesting debate. I don't know how the Supreme Court will rule. That's a closer case. Today's ruling was not a close case at all. It was rather obvious.
Yeah. Greg Jarrett speaking with us right now. The president at the podium in the press briefing room today repeated that the birthright citizenship element had to do with the babies of slaves, which I assume has a bit to do with your writings, and we will make sure that we retweet that to our audience. But he repeated that several times, so it does seem as though he's looking to pursue a clear definition on the issue.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, whenever you're trying to interpret the law, you look at the original, legislative purpose, in this particular case, an amendment to the Constitution, and what the people who framed that amendment meant. And there's a considerable amount of evidence that they meant it in a very narrow way and not this unlimited entry to citizenship by anybody who breaks our laws and comes here illegally.
Another ruling today, we're speaking with Greg Jarrett, Fox News legal analyst, about education. This is important to me because with 4 kids, you're constantly always trying to police what is going in the minds of your children. You'd think you can turn them over to your school, your public school system, and trust that what is being educated there is something that fits your values at home. That wasn't the case for some Maryland families. And the interesting element to this, in my opinion, is this was a Muslim and Christian joint effort to push back against what the public school system was trying to put into the classrooms of these elementary kids. Can you explain what the Supreme Court ruled today on this issue?
Well, the Supreme Court said that parents have the right to exclude their children from a public school system's lessons that contain themes that they disapprove of on religious grounds. Homosexuality, transgenderism. If they feel that material conflicts with their religious faith, they have the right to pull their kids out. And, Alito wrote for the majority, and he said the government burdens the religious exercise of parents when it makes them submit their children to instruction that poses a threat of undermining their religious beliefs. And he's right about that. And, all you have to do is read the First Amendment to understand that.
Yeah, certainly. Were there any of the rulings that came out of the Supreme Court this week that you thought, okay, now we've had some big victories here for the Trump administration. They haven't been afraid in these first months of the administration to make an effort to accomplish, whatever it is the issue is they're trying to accomplish, knowing that it might go to the courts. Is there anything that happened this week that you feel like that might have been a setback for the Trump administration?
No, not really. Nothing stands out, jumps out at me. I think this was a week of wins for the Trump administration on the 2 cases that you and I've talked about today, as well as the Monday case, which was highly important for deportation. The federal government is in control of both immigration and deportation. And the Supreme Court reminded the litigants of that fundamental fact. And, once again, they sort of fired a shot of the bow of district court judges who think they're, super presidents who can veto and countermand the elected president, when in fact they're unelected judges. They're not imperial judges, as Barrett wrote in her decision today. So, I think this is an important method of reining in out of control lower court judges who, in my opinion, get it wrong too often. And it's often the Supreme Court that has to fix what they get wrong.
Yeah, certainly. Greg Jarrett speaking with us right now. Last question, not particularly really about the Supreme Court, but I just thought, since we have you here, I'd like to know your thoughts on what the House Oversight Committee is doing while we're talking about the presidency, looking into Joe Biden's presidency, asking the questions about the auto pen. In your mind, just on a high-level view, do you feel like this is just a political investigation, or do you see avenues where this might lead to some crime?
No, I think it's incredibly important. Look, auto pens are legal as long as the president grants his direct consent. He may not delegate authorization to somebody else. And that appears to be what has happened. Neera Tanden was the first witness who testified, and she was the one who was principally operating the auto pen, and yet she said, I don't know who authorized it above me. Now, yeah, that's insane, and it completely proves the case that some of these executive orders, some of the pardons and commutations and memos and so forth may be null and void. They may be invalid. Unless it can be demonstrated that Biden directly approved and consented. But what if the president is so mentally diminished that he's not even capable of consent? Then what do you have? Well, you have forgery, which is a crime. People operating an auto pen when either you don't have consent or a guy not capable of consent. So I think it's a very serious investigation. It's historic because, this is the first time since Woodrow Wilson in which we had a president who appears to have been not mentally competent to make decisions. Now, maybe Democrats can disprove that. Maybe Joe Biden can disprove it. Although, I tend to think he doesn't know what he had for breakfast. Much less what he was doing during the last 4 years of his presidency.
I love to hear you say that because it's easy if you're just consuming the political side of this situation for people to just be like, oh, that's just politics. He's not the president. Leave him alone. I do not want to see what happened to our country in the last 4 years happen again. And I would assume that there are people still in the bureaucracy of our government potentially who could have known what was going on. And if that's the case, it seems as though the American people have a right to understand what happened.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's highly important. And, the fact that Democrats largely boycotted the first hearing suggests to me that they're either embarrassed by what went on for 4 years or they, were part of the participation cover-up of it.
Yes.
They knew, but they wouldn't speak up about it, as so many journalists did. And that's now coming out. So, there's a lot of blame to go around, but most of it falls in Trump's inner circle, Biden's inner circle, including his wife, Jill Biden.
Yeah, man, I've had words about her. As a wife, I don't know how you could watch your husband experience what he did. Great.
Well, elder abuse comes to mind, doesn't it?
Yes, in front of the entire world. It's unreal. Greg Jarrett, you're a treasure to have on the show. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate you.
My pleasure, Annie. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye. He is a Fox News legal analyst, a wonderful voice to have on the Andy Fry Show today on a big day of Supreme Court rulings and wins that just keep stacking up for Trump. Bad day for the TDSers. Eric Schmidt's going to be on the show with us probably. He was supposed to be on at 1:30. They asked if we could postpone to 1. Is that still the case? Is this,
yeah, we're postponing.
So we're postponing to 1:45 because he's sitting down and talking to Scott Bessent. And I told Brad to tell Bessent to wait, but I don't think Brad did that. So you can play with it. So we're going to talk with Eric Schmidt a little bit later than first planned. Understood immediately when Senator Schmidt said that he could come on the show today that a lot of what you're hearing in the news is the big, beautiful bill getting smacked around in the Senate. If we lose him, we lose him, but we have him for right now at 1:45, and I think he's joining us on Zoom. Is that right? So he'll be on the live stream with us. Last time I saw him on a Zoom, he had a bunch of Cardinal stuff in the background. That was cool. Eric Schmidt at 1:45-ish. Let's get Ryan Wiggins back in the studio next. Don't go away.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
The Dittamore Group, you find them online right now at thedittamore.com. I'm looking at everything that I have laid out right now for my future, the next 2 years, the next 5 years, money, values, and everything. And selling my house is part of this process, potentially. And I don't know what it is that I need to do. Do I need to sell it right now? Should I hold on to it? What's going to happen to the economy? I don't know. I don't know these things, but I do know experts who know these things. And that's the Tammy Dittamore Group, thedittamore.com, and a direct line to Tammy at 618-531-4652. That's 618-531-4652. If you were like me and the world is moving fast around you and you think that there's a move in your future, maybe you got a job change, maybe you want to downsize because the kids are off at college, they're not coming back to live with you. You want space for them, but you want it to be your space. Trust me. I know what it's like to live in a house right now where I feel like even though we're paying the mortgage, it's not my space. It's time for you to downsize but have the perfect house for you. Get the experts at the Dittamore Group, the #1 team and the #1 office in the Metro East with RE/MAX Alliance. The Dittamore Group is going to make sure they get the job done, finding you the house that you've been dreaming of and getting your house sold at top dollar. 618-531-4652. 618-531-4652. Find them online at thedittamore.com.
Step outside and fall in love with your backyard again. From inviting porch overhangs to durable composite decks and cozy screen rooms, Lakeside Renovation and Design creates stunning outdoor living spaces designed for relaxation, entertaining, and making memories. With expert craftsmanship and top-quality materials, your new outdoor oasis will be perfect for every season. Call Lakeside Renovation and Design today or visit lakesiderd.com to get started. Let's turn your backyard into the retreat you've always dreamed of.
Do you ever wonder if you've saved enough money to retire? Well, you can find out how you can make your money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You will learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing your Social Security income, paying for health care, all of it. And there's no cost. Just bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Now, there are a handful of openings for the classes this month and next. Just register by calling 314-947-2012. 314-947-2012. It's the Sue Thomas number. 314-947-2012.
Spring into a new home with amazing savings at TR Hughes. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with TR Hughes Homes, and we are currently offering half off up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs on brand new to-be-built homes at select TR Hughes communities. That's right, half up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs. Visit trhughes.com for details.
The choice of a home builder is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
However, you really should visit trhughes.com.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
Been hotter than 100 suns. I can't find no shade. Just 2 more rows and I'm good to go. Yeah, I'm shutting this tractor down. Give me a half an hour for a shave and a shower, and I'll be outside your house. Might have a little dirt on my boots.
Just as earlier, 2 days ago, I was driving home and somebody was talking about Marco. Oh, we talked about Marco Rubio on the show. And people are like, wow, Marco Rubio is really good at this stuff. And I was a Marco Rubio person in 2016, the primary, proud to do it. In the 2016 primary, I voted for Marco Rubio in Illinois, and he conceded his race like a couple of days before Illinois. It was over. It was obviously over. Like, I knew going into it in Illinois that I was not going to help elect Marco Rubio to the presidency, but I loved what he was saying so much. And I wasn't even 100% sold in the 2016 primary on Donald Trump. I liked Donald Trump more than I liked Ted Cruz. I just believed Donald Trump more than I believed Ted Cruz. You ever around people who you know they're selling you something?
Oh yeah.
I am allergic to that.
I mean, that's a lot of politicians, but also the good ones then really shine through. You know, in 2016, I was in the same boat where I really kind of liked Rubio. I didn't dislike Trump. I just didn't know what to make of him at the time. He was so different, and I thought he really didn't have a chance to win. Therefore, I thought he was not a good candidate because I didn't think he could win.
So, I mean, there are a ton of people who are like me, maybe you, that were like, fine, I'll vote for Donald Trump in the election because Hillary Clinton having a Supreme Court justice nomination is a disaster. I know that.
Uh-huh.
And how bad could Donald Trump be? Not as bad as she will. Done. And you could go back because June of 2016 was my first time on the air on the weekends and on Saturdays. 5 to 7 p.m. is where we started. And so every week I'd get my little 2 hours to play, cover the primary, cover the election. It was really cool to be able to, I snuck in there just in time to actually be able to cover that and be a part of that on air in some teeny tiny small capacity. If you were ever stranded on a desert island and had that much amount of time, you'd be able to listen to the arc of me coming into Donald Trump is the most conservative politician I've ever met. Like in action, in purpose, because what he does, he just does because it's the right thing to do. They're probably surrounding him with poll tested words and, we need to frame it this way. And, we can't do that quite yet. He's been influenced by that early on in his presidency because it's such a big job that you wouldn't know what you don't know until you know it. And it is so clear. Look at how it is mind-blowing how successful Donald Trump has been in these first 5 months as president. The media is not even hitting him. The things that the left is throwing at Donald Trump as some sort of negative that in 2016, you just have to whisper it. And it was like wildfire. It would go everywhere and everybody would collectively high five together on what we hate Donald Trump for today. And everybody just gave into it. You didn't have to do any research. You didn't have to have anything but faith in the aggressive, progressive left that what they were saying was right. Because even if it wasn't factually right, it was for the good outcome of the country, because people, and honestly good people, were made to be so afraid and so scared of this man that they have never been able to think straight about him. And it took from the beginning of the primary where Trump got involved, I guess in 2015, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All the way to 2023 or something when he announces he's running for president again, for people to stop listening to what the left is begging you to think about this man without actual evidence, just begging you to feel about Donald Trump. And in order to do that, they had to make it so that you wouldn't pay attention to your gut or to your brain. Just feel. And America had to suffer through 4 years of Joe Biden. And now these same people are like, I don't know if Joe Biden was really with it the whole time. It makes you want to bang your head into the wall, but you have to remember that we're winning in a really, really big, repetitive way right now. This far into Donald Trump's presidency, the wins, we got to get a new storage closet to put all of the wins that we need that we continue to stack up in this administration. And he's just getting started. It's just beginning. There are a lot more to come. And the main effort against Donald Trump has been a legal one in these district courts. It's the same kind of bologna sausage that they threw at Donald Trump when he was running for president. Get activist judges to lob charges against him in districts where they could do that and get away with it. You know, a district where you could throw whatever charge you wanted at Donald Trump because you'd get a conviction, and it's like the same district where you're like, we can't put Joe Biden on trial. They'll never convict him. They won't even listen to him. He's just an old man who doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, he's the president. We've lived through some really, really crazy times, and I don't know if we've ever seen a better version of Donald Trump than we have right now. I'm really... I think these Supreme Court cases coming down the way they did is going to be like, it's going to be like steroids for him going forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, you think about the stuff like, oh, you can't take away the funding from 15 people who've been sitting in an office doing nothing for the last 12 years. How could a court say these things? That stuff's gone. That stuff's gone now. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Let's take a quick break. We've pushed Eric Schmidt back a segment. Scott Bessent wanted to talk to Eric Schmidt, and they asked if it was okay, and I allowed it. I think the alternative was, we'll just not do your show. But I don't know if they said that specifically. Let me think what I want to think. YouTube live chat poll today. I don't know if you mentioned this. Did you mention this?
I didn't know.
All right, which do you prefer, 105-degree heat index or a negative 5-degree wind chill? Annie Fry YouTube channel. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
Well, I've always got the trifecta of Andrea's sauces in my house. Talk about the steak sauce pretty often, but they also have a barbecue sauce. That's their newest one. You should pick that up, too. I eat that on basically every protein after I've cooked it in Andrea's steak sauce, so really hitting both there. With the salad dressing, though, that's one that a lot of people are always surprised by. I think everybody kind of knows about Andrea's steak sauce in St. Louis now, and if you don't, you should definitely try a bottle and see what it does to your meals, because you will not turn back. But the salad dressing needs a little more attention, needs a little more love, because it is very, very unique, just like the barbecue sauce. These are things that you can't really there's a flavor to those that you can't find elsewhere. And once you get all three of them, whether that's in a gift bag or you pick them up individually at the store, you're really going to realize why I talk about these all the time. I've grown up on them. So yes, I'm advertising for Andrea's, but it's because I've used Andrea's steak sauce and their sauces for so long that I can't help but talk about it. I love it. So pick up a bottle of Andrea's steak sauce if you never had, their barbecue sauce, their salad dressing at Dierberg's, Schnucks, or at Andreas.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey guys, it's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health.
Tony La Russa here. Has your loss of energy and weight gain thrown you a curveball in your relationship? If so, go see my friends over at Victory Men's Health. Discreet, first-class professionals will help you hit those curves out of the park. VictoryMen'sHealth.com. That's VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
Need a lawyer? Onder wins. Call Onder Law at 314-9-MILLION. That's 314-9-all-zeros. Or go to onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
The YouTube live chat poll today, Annie just mentioned it. We haven't talked about it a whole lot. Which do you prefer, 105-degree heat index or negative 5-degree wind chill? I have a very strong feeling about this one, but we'd like to know if you do. YouTube live chat poll, it's basically heat versus cold. Let us know what you think. We'll give you the results at the end of the show. 1:34. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
Kia, Young Money, Nicki Minaj.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Show you off. Tonight I wanna show you off.
Guru Biker Trash. Is that a generated
Is that a
YouTube
band?
name? Could be.
Guru Biker Trash? Oh, that's, okay, let me see here. Got it. Got it. That's somebody commented.
Commented on the YouTube poll. It says, love your guys' show. No offense to anyone. I'd rather sweat than freeze.
Yeah.
What are you? 105 heat index, which is literally what we've had this week, and then some. Or -5 wind chill.
Between these two choices, I am 105-degree heat index. But it's only because you put negative 5-degree wind chill. I lean cold in almost all of these
What do you
polls,
mean?
but that one is extreme. I would rather negative 5-degree is miserable.
Yeah.
I don't like 105-degree heat index either, but between those two, I'll go with the heat.
I was literally sitting in Arnold earlier this week, and it said 106 on my AccuWeather app, real feel, 106 degrees. And I'm like, this is terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
There was no breeze. There was no wind. It was a turf field, which just adds to the baking of the whole situation. But I sat there. I existed in it. I was happy to watch my son play some baseball. But -5 wind chill, you will not find me outside in that.
No. And your car sometimes won't start. I mean, it affects your life in ways that heat. I mean, heat can do stuff too.
Yeah.
But those two extremes, I'm going to take the heat.
A lot of people are making this comment as well. But when you are, here's Lycona. I hope I don't say anything that I shouldn't say because you guys snuck it past me on one of these names. The older I get, the more I despise the cold. Plus, I don't have to shovel 100-degree heat or scrape it off my car. But if you are in -5-degree wind chill weather, you have icy roads and all of that stuff. It's obviously very dangerous to be out in crazy heat, but it's very dangerous to be driving and everything in the wind chill when it's that cold. What do you think, Brad?
This has changed for me over the years as I've lost weight. I am now a heat person, and I would much rather be in 105 than -5. I've lost over 100 pounds, and losing that much weight, now I get cold a lot easier than I used to. So, yeah, give me the 105. I'd rather sweat than freeze. My fingertips get numb, and that's not pleasant.
What's the hottest you've ever experienced weather? Do you know off the top of your head, Ryan?
Heat index or
Just
temperature?
like, where were you? What were you doing?
Probably Florida in the middle of summer at some point. Although there are times that St. Louis will rival that.
Yeah.
So
They're
it
both
might have been
miserably
here.
hot.
They're both very humid too.
But this can be hotter than Florida. The coldest I think I've ever been in my life was my brother played football at Edwardsville High School, and they made it to the state championship game back-to-back years. I can't remember what year it was. I think it would have been the fall of 2002. Tigers out there? Do you know? I don't know. But they played at U of I in the state championship game. Maybe against Mount Prospect? I don't know. And it was so cold. There were people digging cardboard boxes out of dumpsters from like the concession stand to unfold them and create wind blocks.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember coming home from that football game from Champaign, and it took me the whole ride home to like make my bones not be chattering. It was so miserable. That's just, we had hot hands in our shoes and our pants and everything. We were all snuggled up together. It was so miserable. What's the coldest you've ever been, Brad?
Oh, man, I don't remember the year, but I remember we were outside because my friend is in from California. He's like, no, I got to get used to this cold. I live here now, blah, blah, blah. And I think it was -20 wind chill and like negative temperatures, and he wanted to throw the football, and I think
Say, throw it to yourself.
Yeah, I think
Let's go throw a football, friend.
Yeah, and I just remember it was outside, it was at night, and whenever it's cold at night and the wind isn't blowing and that cold stillness, it was that, and I felt like my breath was freezing and hitting the ground. Do
you remember being miserably cold?
I do. This was, it's funny because all of these memories of weather, they start at 18 years old. Because before 18, parents are like, you're not going out in this. You're not even taking the car.
Yeah.
But after that, then, you can do whatever you want. But I went into Minnesota to see a Wild versus Blues game with a couple friends of mine, and I remember being outside that game. We had to park on a rooftop somewhere, and man, I had never experienced Minnesota cold in winter like that, and thought this actually, the thermometer probably says the same thing. I'm sure I've experienced that temperature before, but there was something about Minnesota cold that was breathtaking.
Wait, Ruth, somebody who a friend of mine texted me, and she knows a little bit about the north, said you wouldn't have icy roads with minus 5 degree wind chill. It's too cold for snow to melt and turn to ice. All right, well, I would be frozen on the roads, and I'd be a speed bump, therefore dangerous to traffic.
You'd be like the end of the Jack Nicholson movie.
Good story. Why don't you finish
About
up
halfway through that, I was like, oh no, I can't find the name of the movie.
Next time, you go through the whole thought in your head, and you jump right in there when you're ready. Ethan?
Did you say that your coldest experience was at the Winter Classic, the Blues
No,
Wild
no,
game?
not the Winter Classic. It was just some random
just
Wild
Blues
versus
Wild.
Blues game.
Because mine was Wild versus Blues too.
Wow.
But I was outside for the whole thing. It was the Winter Classic in 2022, and with the wind chill, it got down to like negative 30 degrees, negative 32 or something like that.
In Minnesota?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cold that it sounds like the end of The Shining. I found it.
Never seen it.
It's a scary movie.
I've heard.
Spooky.
Here's Johnny, which is what Jesse Waters' producer says every day when he does those man on the street interviews. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I don't see him that often, but
I love them. We've tried to get producer Johnny on the Annie Fry Show, and they're like, you can't do that. We're like, come on, why? We want to make him a big deal in our little corner of the country. When I watch Johnny do those man on the street interviews, this is weird, but if once you see it, I want to know if you guys experience the same thing. I imagine that how old do you think Johnny is?
Johnny Belisario, 27.
28.
20s, right?
Yeah.
$1.
Putting a lot of dollars out today.
I know, like I'm up to 3. I feel like that is 100% what Fred Bottomer would have been like at 28 years old.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know why. They don't look alike or anything like that, but just the way, like, Fred is funny and very, very smart, and Johnny Belisario is really smart because the way he walks through these conversations and gets great content out of people, but he still has to know his stuff in order to actually argue with these people who sometimes they know a lot, sometimes they don't know anything. Not argue, but just further the conversation. I just always imagine that's what 20-whatever-year-old Fred Bottomer would be like.
That story reminded me of the end of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Because of the Fred Bottomer part?
No, because of the Jack Nicholson tie.
Are you just naming Jack Nicholson movies?
Batman?
Do you have a list pulled up?
No.
He does! He has a list of Jack Nicholson movies.
This list is as good as it gets.
Do you want to get them all out now? I don't want to do this the whole show.
I
We have
believe
Eric
that
Schmidt on pretty soon.
I'm in the studio with a few good men.
Yeah.
The Departed.
You are just listening. We're going to take a quick break, connect with Senator Eric Schmidt, who is going to pop up on a phone call with us to discuss a whole bunch of things. Among them, the big, beautiful bill that the Senate is discussing right now, trying to get to come to a vote. I heard Senator Kennedy saying today, get the vote started so that we can offer amendments if necessary. We need to get this process moving. We'll get an update from your Senator, Missouri, the great Senator Eric Schmidt, next on The Annie Fry Show.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
So I've talked to you about life transitions and how Civia Law can help you with that. But let me talk to you about some of what those life transitions can actually be. You have everything in place. You have a plan. This is your future. And then life does what it does and throws you a curveball. Divorces, marriages, births, deaths, all of these things that happen in the normal course of life when they happen to you, you got to think about your estate, your belongings. You got to think about protecting those people who are connected to you that you hope to leave this stuff to. Staying out of probate, which is expensive. It costs a lot of money, costs a lot of time, certainly. You can plan for these types of things when you partner with Civia Law. CiviaLaw.com in Missouri and Illinois will help you navigate all of these complicated challenges, or if you're blessed to not have been affected by any of these negative transitions, you can get something in place right now, and when that happens, they can guide you through that as well. Being prepared, being planned is where you will find peace of mind and relief. And I have a special offer for you right here on the Annie Fry Show. For the first 10 callers, 833-995-WILL, they're going to withdraw that $300 fee for your initial strategy session. 833-995-WILL. 833-995-WILL. First 10 callers, a free strategy session for you if you mention my name, Annie Fry, when you give them a call. CiviaLaw.com.
Many of you know that my inspiration for becoming an accident attorney was my brother Tim, who was rendered a quadriplegic at age 18. I didn't know what a personal injury lawyer was or what they did, but I soon did. Tim was treated terribly by the insurance company, and I became enraged. It was a constant delay and deny. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Tim later worked with me for 27 years. Last year, my hero died at age 65. You can see my eulogy for him by visiting mybrothertim.com. He was one hell of a man. Because of Tim, together we built the largest injury firm in the world, and our clients are treated the way I would want my family to be treated. At Morgan & Morgan, nobody is a nobody and everybody is a somebody. If you need our help, visit forthepeople.com on your phone or computer. See you soon, Tim. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Well, we're going to get this done, and I think every Republican understands what's at stake here, the entire America First agenda. The president needs these tools and resources to grow the economy, to rein spending in and bring the prices down that people have suffered with, and to secure the border and strengthen our defense. So failure is not an option.
Failure is not an option. The entire America First agenda is at stake. This, according to House Budget Chairman Arnington from Texas. Let's get to our guest. You know what that sound means. Senator Eric Schmitt back on the Annie Fry Show. Senator, we're very grateful. We know your time is precious right now. Thanks for being with us.
Sure thing. Good to be with you.
What is the progress right now on the big, beautiful bill and that July 4th deadline?
Well, this shows you how important you are and your listeners are. I literally just stepped out of our Republican Senate conference lunch where we're discussing the big, beautiful bill to call in here. So that's how much I love you, Annie, and all the great folks in the St. Louis region listening. We're going to get there. I think we're committed to being here through the weekend. There's still some things we're trying to work out, as you would with something like this with a lot of moving parts. But I think everyone's committed, delivering on the big promises. You've got the no tax on tips. You've got the no tax on overtime. You've got making sure we don't have the tax cuts from 2017 expire. They're supposed to expire at the end of this year. So we extend those. And that's a few $1,000s for every man, woman, and child in this country as far as what the tax increase would be. So that's a very important thing to do. It makes those tax cuts permanent so we won't have this situation again. It also has money for border security, money for deportations, money for detention beds. It's got money for our military. So what's important to note there is it pulls those priorities, it funds those for a few years so that once we're past this reconciliation process, the Democrats can't hold us hostage as we go through the normal appropriations process. So we're funding and kind of front-loading those priorities for President Trump early because we've got the ability, because we only need 51 votes in the Senate and a simple majority in the House. And so the goal is to stay here this weekend and get this done and deliver on behalf of not only the president's agenda, but really what the American people are looking for.
You're listening to Senator Eric Schmitt right here from the state of Missouri on the big, beautiful bill. We heard about some moves that the parliamentarian made. That stuff gets into the weeds for average folks just trying to figure out if you guys are going to get the job done. Can you simplify for us what was done with the Medicaid situation? Medicare?
So this will be kind of like process stuff that's super boring, but I'll try to make it somewhat entertaining. People don't fall asleep. But is that basically through the reconciliation process, it was legislation that was passed in the 70s. You're only supposed to be dealing with sort of budget items and tax policy. It's not really a policy thing. Like you're not allowed to have legislation in there like men playing in women's sports. Like that doesn't fit in a reconciliation bill. So the parliamentarians sort of make some of those calls. I will say though that usually you can work around that. And like, for example, initially not allowing SNAP benefits for illegal immigrants was bounced. It was taken out. Well, there was a tweak of the language and now it's back in. So some of the stuff that's like popping up online or whatever, we should be able to work around that because when you're talking about Medicaid and you're talking about SNAP, the only people that are affected, and Democrats are trying to fearmonger on this, are, if you're an able-bodied adult, we want to make sure you're working. And if you're an illegal immigrant, we want to make sure you're not getting any taxpayer benefits. Yeah. That's it. And so basically that's what Democrats are trying to make that seem worse than it is. But that's kind of where the sort of like in the bowels of the Senate where you're sort of arguing of what can stay in, what can stay out. And then we'll have it on the floor. Like that's the idea is that over the weekend we would have it on the floor. There's something called a vote-a-rama, meaning after 20 hours of debate, it's unlimited amendments. And you just rifle through these things, and so you could have 10, you could have 20, you could have 50, you could have 100 amendments that are offered, and we'll vote through that and then ultimately get to final passage. So it'll be a long but very, very important weekend for us.
Do you still believe, Senator Schmitt, that Donald Trump's desire, he said earlier at the press conference today, if they have to go longer than July 4th, they can do that. They're not completely bound by it. But it is a hope of his that he could sign this on July 4th. Is that even possible?
It is. I think the weekend, we're still within the weekend window. And as long as we don't creep outside of the weekend window, that is still possible for this to be on the president's desk and signed, because it would then go over to the House and then they would vote on it. And they can move pretty quickly in the House. They don't have the same procedural stuff that we have in the Senate. So it's still possible. But I agree. I've always thought the 4th of July was a very important goal, a self-imposed deadline, but an important one, because typically the way these things work, just like a lot of things in life, people kind of move on deadlines, and the longer things kind of stick around without an end date, they can kind of drag on. So that is our goal. But we're literally today trying to iron out any of the differences that we have, and people are trying to get things included, not included, that kind of thing, for it to go onto the floor potentially by tomorrow is probably the hope.
Well, we're watching closely, and we're rooting for the America First agenda to really this process is American, and it's ugly and it's sausage making, but it's not supposed to be easy for some people in Washington D.C. to come together and regulate the country. So this is part of the process.
Right. That's right. We've got that, and then right after that, I'm actually handling. I'm the bill handler of the rescissions package. So
okay.
So we'll have the reconciliation, then we have rescissions, and then we'll have appropriations, and you've got all these trade deals, and so I think really what it's all shaping up here is a big, beautiful summer, and that allows these policies, which were very effective in President Trump's first term, that had record wage growth across the board, to come in and, have enough time to breathe before the midterm elections, and people could again see how successful America First agenda is. And so that's one of the reasons why we're working so hard, is we want to make sure that we've got time to see these things play out and people receive the benefits, because that's just the right thing to do.
We've got limited time left with you here. Senator Eric Schmitt with us. I want to ask you about two things, and I'm just going to give you the floor so you can spend whichever amount of time you want on each of these issues. The first is a tweet you put out that you're taking a first-of-its-kind act on the Biden auto pen cover-up. Using your authority as chairman of the subcommittee on the Constitution, you've submitted a, quote, special access request to archivist Marco Rubio to obtain sealed documents regarding the auto pen issue. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, of course, is the Supreme Court rulings from today. But if you could talk to us about the auto pen first and follow up with the Supreme Court, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I joked with Secretary Rubio yesterday because we were getting an all-senator briefing on the Iran issue, and I said, I sent you a letter today in your capacity as the archivist. So it's like he has many roles. But basically we held that hearing to kind of get to the bottom of who's running the country when Joe Biden was mentally incapacitated. And one of the things we're hunting down now is when you use that auto pen, there's supposed to be a record of the authorization, and that would be held by the archivist. So we want to run that down and see actually was that happening and sort of who was actually in charge. So that's part of that subcommittee. And as it relates to the Supreme Court today, that's a big ruling. Like, it was on birthright citizenship. It really wasn't about the merits of whether or not the president could do it or not. That'll get decided later through executive order. But what it did say is all these nationwide injunctions that we've seen have been very, very frustrating. And I predicted this and told people that as these things make their way through, these district court judges, these radicals have their 15 minutes of fame. But as they make their way through the appellate courts and the Supreme Court, President Trump, by and large, will be successful. This is a big deal. Basically, what they're saying is, the Supreme Court today was, you don't have the ability. You've never been vested with the authority to make national policy as a district court judge. Your job is to decide cases that are in front of you, the cases and controversy in front of you among those parties. Right? You can't loop in a bunch of people or policies that aren't in front of you. So it's really severely limits the authority of the district court judges, which has been obviously very, very controversial as you've got radical after radical trying to inhibit President Trump's agenda. So that's a big, big win for President Trump and really for the separation of powers, because we talk a lot about, the Article 1 branch or the Article 2 branch being restrained, but the Article 3 branch, the judiciary, also has certain restraints. They don't get you to do everything. And so the Supreme Court reined them in today, and that's a good thing.
I thought that if the president were truly acting like a king, that today wouldn't, and yesterday, this week, wouldn't have gone quite the way it did. Doesn't look like he's acting too much like a king. It looks like he's acting on behalf of the American people.
That's right. And he ran on very specific things, and he's doing those things, and they're authorized under law. He has the ability to enforce border laws and immigration laws. That's what he's doing. What people, the left, is losing their mind is that Joe Biden didn't do that, right? And it had been the policy of the United States, even among Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. Between the two of them, they deported, tens of millions of people. And but only when President Trump came in is that a problem. And one, it's Trump derangement syndrome, and then number two, they actually believe in open borders now. So President Trump's just executing the laws, and the Supreme Court's now saying you don't have some rogue district court judge tell him he can't do that. Just like a district court judge can't tell him he can't authorize troop movements. It'd be like a district court judge preemptively saying the president can't take the action he took this weekend. Those are core Article 2 executive branch powers, and that the President of the United States is elected by the entire country to execute. And so that's what you mean by separation of powers. When we say that, we mean it vertically and horizontally. We mean it vertically through what we're talking about here, but then also sort of horizontally and vertically because you've got federalism. The states can push back as well. So anyway, it's a good lesson in kind of a real time on our Constitution and why it's so important to preserve it.
Senator Eric Schmitt, tell the Republicans in the Senate, get it done.
We'll get it done.
Happy Friday.
We'll get it done. Yeah, we'll get it done.
Go back to your lunch.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Senator Eric Schmitt stepping out of the Republican caucus to get the big, beautiful bill done. They're discussing it, and he wanted to prioritize you. Pretty awesome. We'll be right back.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. So tell them today, I love you. Get screened. It could help save their life. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
Don't miss Mosby Building Arts Home Improvement Show, Saturdays from 12 to 1 p.m. on 97.1. One of the last call-in shows where you can get live answers to your remodeling, design, and construction questions. Tune in Saturdays at noon.
If you've listened to 97.1 FM Talk, you've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio every Saturday at 2, right here on 97.1 FM Talk, and you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A busy day at the Supreme Court. I'm John Saucier, Fox News. The High Court putting limits on the power of lower court judges to issue nationwide opinions.
Nationwide injunctions, or universal injunctions, likely exceed the equitable authority Congress has granted federal courts. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett writes in a 6-3 opinion. The challenge came from rulings from district court judges blocking an executive order from President Trump intended to end birthright citizenship of children born to parents in the country illegally. But Barrett says the issue of birthright citizenship is not before the court, leaving that question open. In a dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor warns without universal injunctions, no right is safe. Writing, absent cumbersome class action litigation, courts cannot completely stop plainly unlawful policies. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
President Trump argued these injunctions were an abuse of power.
It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation.
The court saying Maryland parents can pull their kids from public school lessons that use LGBTQ books.
This brought together a coalition of parents of different religious faiths and backgrounds who said there used to be a rule in this particular school district that would let them know when there were books that dealt with issues that may be in conflict with their religious faith. Well, so many parents were opting out that the school board and the school district quit doing it. Well, 6-3 today in a decision by Justice Alito, they said these parents have earned at least a preliminary injunction. So while this case plays out, they said the board has to notify them about a book that's in question or anything similar so that their kids can be excused if it's in conflict with their faith. The dissent by Justice Sotomayor, joined by Justices Kagan and Jackson, says today's ruling threatens the essence of public education.
Fox's Shannon Bream reporting from the Supreme Court. America's listening to Fox News.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Plenty of heat, plenty of humidity, and a couple of thunderstorms popping up here and there. Heat-driven storms under partly sunny skies. 94 for the high. Just keep an eye on the sky. Not everybody's going to get one.
Then tonight, partly to mostly cloudy, couple of thunderstorms, 75. Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny, hot and humid. Each day, a couple of thunderstorms, and each day, 93. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Save now with Carrier Cool Cash rebates up to $1,700 on a new AC or HVAC system. For details and a free estimate, aircomfortservice.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Well, we've had a good Friday show so far. Done a little more work on a Friday than we're used to.
Heck yeah, we have. I'm tired of it.
You were out for most of the work, though.
Well, I did a lot pre-show because of the press conference.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've had a lot to catch up on.
You had to sit and listen to it.
Yeah, you never know when it's going to end, so you just got to wait.
Didn't Ethan do it, or did you?
Well, I was in here to talk in and out of it.
Did you Mystery Science Theater the press conference? Did you talk during the press
conference? No, I didn't talk on the air during it. I mean, we were talking amongst ourselves, but no, I did not speak during the president's remarks. I wouldn't do that to him.
Sure you would.
If the occasion called for it, maybe.
We did carry that press conference during the 11 a.m. hour leading into the Annie Fry Show. And, I didn't realize coming in, because I was only listening to it, I didn't realize that he was in the press briefing room, that he came in to do that. He did that a lot, I felt like, a lot more during 2016, his first term. Didn't he walk into that room quite a bit?
Yeah, we were saying that off air. We did not interrupt him, that we haven't seen him do this maybe at all.
I don't think I've seen him do it at all. Carolyn Levitt has owned that space, shared it with other people, but Carolyn Levitt doesn't share that space with Donald Trump. Donald Trump walked in there, and that was one thing that I learned when I was at the press briefing, in the press briefing room when I was in D.C., is like, that's super close. I mean, it might be like a 3-minute walk to get from the Oval Office into the press briefing room. It's all right there in the same place. And that made me think, like, why doesn't he do it more often? And I really think, going back to what we've talked about a little bit earlier this hour, or to the 1 o'clock hour, that Donald Trump's successes, the things that he has achieved, and the left's inability to have the stranglehold on the media successfully, they've tried. Nobody cares. Nobody's watching that anymore. That he's not in a fighting mood. He's in a doing mood. He's in his Oval Office or wherever he might be, doing the work, getting the job done. Carolyn Levitt is taking care of business in the press briefing room. But he's not nearly as combative as he's been in the past. And I don't think that's because he doesn't have the fight in him. I just don't think that the left has any fight left.
Well, they can't figure out what to hit him on. I mean, every week, if you're a professional protester, you don't know what to even protest anymore. God bless them. They're out there all the time. But the signs are all over the place. The issues are conflated. They can't figure out which flag to raise in any given moment. So it's just hard for them.
The only flag that they have consistency on is their disgust and hatred of the American flag. How can you be part of the far left, aggressive, progressive party? And what is it? Do they ever even talk about loving America?
Not really.
I mean, is there ever a conversation that comes out of the likes of, I don't even like saying her name, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or whatever it is? Are they ever out there talking about what's great about this country?
I would say that they will cherry pick certain issues from American history. And
no, not American history. I'm talking about, is there anything they love about this country right now?
Yes, they love talking about how we are a nation of immigrants. We are a diverse nation. And those things are true, but they're using them in a modern way.
I don't even think that is a celebration of America. I think that's saying that we're not good enough, that what we are is bad and what they are coming in is good. And it almost feels like from this end of it that what the AOCs of the world are saying, we deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a great sin. And America is constantly having to atone for the great sin of being America to the progressive left. That even when they're talking about that, it's denigrating who we are as a country and propping up who they are coming in, which is ironic because the people who are coming into our country who want to go through some sort of immigration process because they care and love America and they want to be a part of America, they see something here that is worth pursuing and in many cases risking their lives to get here. And if they're, depending on the process, risking a lot of treasure to get here because it can cost a pretty penny to go through that process. They love what we have. They love America in a way that these detractors, the AOCs of the world, don't. I don't think that they love this country. I don't think they going back to what the original in my lifetime, the fork in the road was Barack Obama running for office saying he wanted to fundamentally transform America on the promise of the very measurable statistic of hope and change. There's this great sin that exists in our country and slavery, which creates a perpetual racial divide. We've had clips from Jamal Bowman. I don't know if you pulled him, but Jamal Bowman was on the roundtable on CNN.
I've got the headline. It was part of the B.
Now, but I mean, well, yes. I mean, it's so offensive to so many people when a former representative in Congress, he literally says that black people face increased risks of obesity because they walk around being called the N-word or it's implied everywhere they go. That is a real thought that he brought to the table. CNN said, come talk to us here. And that is a real thought that he has. There is no coming back from that type of mentality. And I have a diverse group of friends. They don't talk and think like that. So is he speaking for everybody who looks like him? I highly doubt it. But that is a really, really angry way to go through life. I will take it into a place that I can speak from. Being a woman, I know people in my life, I know women in my life who think that everything bad that happens to them because men. That, like, you're going to shake your fist at the man all of the time because you're being held back by the man. I know people who live like that. They can't be satisfied. There's no amount of male removal that is going to make them feel like they aren't at a disadvantage always. And you can kind of have that disadvantaged perspective and it's a chip on your shoulder, so you want to live your life and you want to prove the people wrong. But if at the end your only satisfaction is that you've proved people wrong, that's not ultimately gratifying. At some point, it has to be done from some sense of positivity where, let my work stand for itself. Let my efforts speak for themselves. The left has made an entire political movement out of saying, what's the most unfortunate thing that you feel about yourself? And then they list for you what your options are. Well, from looking at you, I can tell that you're a person of color, or that you are older, or that you are younger, or that you are female, or whatever it might be. And they'll tell you all of the things, like which lane would you like to follow through with in your greatest disadvantage? And now for the rest of your life, guess what? You're still going to be that thing. And you've labeled it as a disadvantage. Like, how do people live a joyful life with elements of who they are intrinsically as a God-made person being their greatest disadvantage? That is an unhappy place to live. And I am convinced in these last 5 months that the only emotion that the aggressive progressive left can show is anger. That it's just everything is rooted in this deep-seated disgust and anger, and they feel as though that's motivating enough to move people. But at the end, if they successfully move people, they're more mad than they've ever been.
Yeah.
You had Joe Biden as the president. You're more mad than you've ever been. I didn't look at y'all thinking you looked really happy in the 4 years that Joe Biden was president. Can you be happy? Because I look at the people on the other side of the political aisle, and I see them be frustrated, annoyed, disgusted at times, angry at the hypocrisy. But those are emotions they go in and out of while they live their lives and experience the things that give them joy.
And the saddest thing is that the kind of people you're talking about, that's not every Democrat, but it is the people who are controlling the direction of the party.
No, like I continue to say, it's the aggressive progressive left. It's
Exactly.
not even Democrats.
Right.
It's the people whose entire identity is based on all of the stickers in their car, in their yard, or whatever. Like the things that it walks into the room before they do.
And that activist class controls the direction of the party. There's always extremes in every movement, but usually it's the kind of the middle ground that kind of pushes the pendulum. But that group of people, that's probably 30% of the party who said that Biden won the debate. I always go back to that poll. If you thought Biden won the first debate with Trump, then you are crazy. And you are part of that 30% of people who do not live in reality. You protest everything. You get mad at everything. As long as you're keeping it peaceful, that's good. But, these things get out of control. They become violent in a lot of ways, and it's never ending. Whatever the issue of the day is, they will take up their signs and protest against that thing.
Like you said, the flag, it's the same stuff, different details. The flag will change, but the protests, the chants and everything, they all stay the same. When we come back, Ethan's local news segment, he's going to bring everything home for us in a segment named, once again today, Something Different by Ryan Wiggins. If you guys have suggestions of something that might stick for the Ethan local news segment, the ELN.
Oh, no, we did not just name it.
No, I'd still have to explain that every time. Let us know on the Any Fry YouTube chat. Go vote and tell us also, which do you prefer, 105-degree heat index or negative 5-degree wind chill? Ooh, these both sound miserable. You let us know what you think. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
And if you're gonna hurt me, then you gotta hold me next to you.
Air Comfort Service, online at aircomfortservice.com. Get that air purifier in your home. Breathe the air in and out in your home without having to deal with all the ick that happens outside, the allergens that plague you and cause you to just feel, that summer cold. Sometimes that's just allergies. And you don't have to live like that. You can treat that air in your home with a whole home air purifier directly from Air Comfort Service, the best in the business when it comes to everything HVAC. Call Air Comfort Service and have them come out and help treat the air in your home by installing that whole home air purifier. You can call them at 314-513-0091. That's 314-513-0091. Make sure you let them know that you heard about them on the Annie Fry Show and ask them how you can get a free estimate on that whole home air purifier for your residence. And they will set you up, and you will be so glad that you can breathe so easily. 314-513-0091. 314-513-0091. aircomfortservice.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. And your home is your sanctuary. You need to take the first step to peace of mind with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from the #1 Generac generator dealer in the country, Generator Supercenter. We learned the hard way here in St. Louis during the tornado recently that power can be knocked out. But even outside of that, what if the power grid fails and it's 100 degrees here in St. Louis? You don't want to be that person. Get with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis today. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com. Tell them that we sent you along.
Do you ever wonder if you've saved enough money to retire? Well, you can find out how you can make your money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You will learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing your Social Security income, paying for health care, all of it. And there's no cost. Just bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Now, there are a handful of openings for the classes this month and next. Just register by calling 314-947-2012 314-947-2012. It's the Sue Thomas number, 314-947-2012.
Hey guys, it's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
Cool for them, like everyone did that for Justin
But
Bieber
then it
too.
sounds like your
Then you
childhood.
get older and you're like, oh my gosh, this was so good.
Yeah.
So good. Yes. Love the Jonas Brothers.
YouTube live chat poll for today, youtube.com/@AnnieFry. Which do you prefer, 105-degree heat index or a -5-degree wind chill? Go vote and let us know what you think. Now we get a little local with Ethan.
Just a little background. We've had Ethan's Saucy Soiree. We've had Gangsta Ethan's Mega Segma. And then yesterday was Mega Muffin's Mostly Manic Musings. And now today.
Mostly Manic Musings was part of it?
Check it out.
Ethan's boring local news.
Straight to the point. Who suggested that?
These are still from our originals. So
Oh.
next week will be all the listener suggestions.
Seemed like a Steve installment to me.
No. No, I do have several written
Glad it's
down.
not.
So if you have really good ones, share them in the chat and I'll write them down.
Name Ethan's local news segment. All right, what do you got?
So, when you say it's from the group, do you mean it's from you?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Just wanted to clarify there. Okay. So, last night, 2 nights ago, was the NBA draft, and normally you'd say, well, why the heck does that matter here in St. Louis? Well, I thought it would be cool to mention real quickly that a St. Louisan did actually get drafted. Ryan Kalkbrenner got picked by the Charlotte Hornets.
Another successful St. Louis Ryan.
Mm-hmm. There's so few.
What do you
of
mean
us.
another?
Me.
Brendan Ryan.
Oh, nice. Quick
can't-
on your feet there.
That was pretty quick. I was going through them.
I thought she was talking about me.
Ryan played first base, went to... Did he play for the Phillies? Is his name Ryan?
Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard. Thank
Yes,
you.
the Phillies.
He's
Nice.
a St. Louis boy.
Mm-hmm. He is. He is indeed. Maybe a future Hall of Famer. But this Ryan...
Let's just talk about all the successful
Governor
St. Louis
George
Ryans.
Ryan.
Is he from here?
I don't know if he's from right here, but he was
You can't just name Ryan.
governor of Illinois.
Not in jail?
He might be.
Yeah,
Not
it's hard
sure.
to- it's hard to remember.
Not really sure.
Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Oh.
That's quite the last name. Kalkbrenner. Second round pick.
Moving on.
The Charlotte Hornets. 34th overall pick. He went to Creighton. Was really good there. They made a couple of good runs into the NCAA tournament. And then was raised in Florissant and then played at Trinity Catholic High School in the area. So congrats to Ryan Kalkbrenner. Speaking of drafts, the NHL draft is tonight. The Blues have the 19th pick. The first round will be tonight. So be keeping an eye out on who will be the next Blues
What's the
first round pick.
best draft to watch?
Just in general, all five drafts. I mean, it has to be the NFL draft.
Did you see what happened in the NBA draft with the announcement of who got drafted first?
Cooper Flagg.
Cooper Flagg did.
Colin Cowherd. I did hear this.
That's what they announced.
I did.
But Colin Cowherd is the host of a show called
I did hear about
The
this.
Herd, and I
Yes.
know this because I used to board op for it back in a long time ago in the mid 2000s. But that wasn't. It was
No,
Cedric.
they said the wrong name, and they said Colin Cowherd. Talk about screwing up the one job you had.
I mean, seriously, did you say the detail about the? I know that the Blues have selected who's going to make the announcement for the NFL or for the NHL.
Yeah,
draft.
it's going to be Nikki Glazer.
Yeah, I thought that's a thing that people do. Like you get to be the person who announces.
Yeah, it's not a crazy popular thing, but it is a thing. You see it a lot in the NFL draft where they'll have like a former player from that team come out and he'll make the pick. But it's kind of fun. Listen, I feel like her kind of rise and fall and rise again. Like her fall was kind of in the time where I feel like I would have been paying attention to her. I don't know anything about Nikki Glazer.
What was her fall?
She just got irrelevant, I felt like, for a little while again. Like, she was really big, and then, like, no one talked about her, and now it feels like, as of late, the last couple of years, she's been more around a little bit, I feel like.
Huh, okay.
Maybe that's just me. It sounds like it might just be me.
Also, open question. Is ESPN just all day them playing radio shows?
I wouldn't know.
I
Wait, are you
wouldn't
talking
either.
about ESPN Radio?
No,
Yes,
ESPN.
that's a yes.
ESPN TV, we won't watch it here, but whenever I've seen it during a weekday, it's just a broadcast. It would be like tuning in and watching our live stream, but it's on
YouTube.
ESPN.
Come on and join us.
So I'm just like, oh, they must be needing some programming.
Not entirely, but it's a portion of it. They still do a good chunk of SportsCenter, which is discussion with different people, but they're also coming to you, you know. For example, the last several days, there's been a lot of NBA draft coverage, and then tonight for the NHL draft. So they do those kinds of things where they'll have people on site, kind of like any news channel would. But then they're also covering consistently yesterday's highlights, the highlights that have occurred, upcoming games, and stuff like that too. So it's a balance of each. Moving on here in what was it today? Ethan's boring local news. Yep. Thank you. A year later,
Kind of catchy.
A year later. Sinkhole restoration is underway at Gordon Moore Park.
Still?
Oh, wow.
Do you guys remember this?
Oh, heck yeah.
Had they started? Like, it's just starting?
It's just getting going.
Wow.
They haven't done anything to it?
Nope.
Isn't that by Spencer T?
Yes.
Big hole. I could hit the ball in that hole.
So it was just this is not very far from where I grew up. This is only 5 minutes down the road, probably in Alton. And last year on their brand new renovated soccer fields, they just put on all this nice turf, had completely redone everything. And there's video footage of it, security footage. A giant light pole just falls into the ground, and this 50-foot deep sinkhole just appears.
Is this stuff of nightmares? The fact that the ground can open up underneath you at any time and swallow you up.
The scary part is that, and thankfully nobody was injured, but like this was on a kid's soccer field.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh my gosh, imagine if this would have happened like at a different time. This could have been horrific.
Thank God it didn't.
Yeah, no kidding.
What's crazy is that it's in the very center of the field. It's like, well, if you had to have a sinkhole form somewhere, how about the middle of an open field when nobody's in it? It's just so odd that it would be right there and not a few feet in one direction or the other. It could have taken out bleachers or a building.
Almost dead center.
Yeah, it was such a bizarre story. To think they haven't done anything on it yet either.
How much did they say how much it cost or anything like that? Because I can't even imagine after it had been fully renovated. I hope the insurance helped out there a bit, but how long it would take? Like, how do you fill a 50-foot deep hole? Is that what you said?
The 50-foot deep, 100-foot wide. I have a picture here that I'm trying to pull up on the stream.
A golf ball into that hole. Yeah, I don't understand how you live near that and deal with knowing that that's just there.
If you're on, we have a picture of it up right now.
That looks fake.
On
It's
YouTube.
real.
Yeah.
It's real. But doesn't that look like it's AI or something?
Yeah, it does. I wouldn't believe it if it weren't heavily reported on.
So the latest picture, right? Because it's been raining so much, it's almost full, like to like even level, like with water right now.
This is near a quarry. I mean, Alton, like there are quarries around there.
In that area, but not right on top of it. I think what they
I think
said.
you wouldn't put a youth field.
So I broadcasted for a team that played in this park, a summer collegiate team, and every day at 3:00 you would get vibrations in the press box because there is a I believe it's limestone. Factory right where they are digging it up, I guess, and this all occurred, I guess, because in some sort of connection with that explosion and it caused that collapse. So officials initially estimated, like I said, 100 feet wide, 50 feet deep. Currently, it's full of water, which Mayor David Goyne said is actually a positive sign because it means the water is not seeping below the surface. So I guess that's a good thing. The plan, the Cliff Notes version, is that it will stabilize underground, and once the underground is stabilized, New Frontier Materials, once that is stabilized underground, then they'll be able to fill in the hole, and obviously once it's filled, then you can start to figure out what to do with it again if it's going to ever be able to be open to be used by people. Goins hopes to have them restored by next summer, but there's still a lot that has to happen before we can get to that point. So
I'm glad you brought
pretty
this
crazy.
up. I didn't realize A, that it had been a year, and that B, nothing has been done.
Yeah, I mean, everything was there. First, there had to be an investigation, right? So that took several months of just waiting to see if, can we even open the park back up to people? So that took a little while. And then I don't know if maybe you hit the winter and maybe that has something to do with it, but it hasn't been winter for a while, so I don't know what the holdup has been.
Good segue. Which do you prefer, 105-degree heat index or a -5-degree wind chill? Do you have a preference on this before we wrap?
My mindset is you can always put more clothes on. So I think that I'd prefer the cold.
Ryan preferred the heat,
Because you can only take so many off. You get to a certain point and you get arrested, or you just run around downtown and people are like, whatever.
Ask us anything on the YouTube live chat. Next question, next segment.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. My friend Stewie is ready to help you out. I am a 2-time customer of the Bagel Loan. I have done a refinance using the Bagel Loan on my house twice, have secured a super low rate. Whenever I talk to him about potential things I might want to do in the future, he's always like, you must have had a really good mortgage guy, because my rate in the 2s is because of him, his encouragement to do this, and the fact that when I went through these 2 mortgage refinances a couple years apart, I didn't pay any closing costs to do that. The amount of money that I've saved on such a lower interest rate is pretty significant to me. If you're looking for the same for you, you can get access to the exact same thing I did. A Bagel Loan refinance at 314-324-4440, where you pay $0 in closing costs. 314-324-4440. If you're shopping for a new home and you know that you're going to get a new mortgage for that new home, you want to go to him. He closes fast. He makes it so that you have as much power in your hands as you possibly can to be the most competitive buyer that you can be. Google the Bagel Loan, NMLS number 226715.
Fantasy Baseball League with Fantasy Baseball Today, part of the CBS Sports Podcast Network. Join Scott White, Chris Towers, and me, Frank Stanfill, every weekday as we recap every player from every game. We'll get you the latest news, waiver wire adds and drops, trades to make, prospect promotions, and everything else you need to take down your league. Follow and listen to Fantasy Baseball Today on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. If you or anyone in your family has been injured in a car accident, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before, protecting America, fighting for you. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Today's YouTube live chat poll, which do you prefer, 105-degree heat index or negative 5-degree wind chill? Those are your two options. Two extremes. You got to pick one of them. YouTube live chat poll. Let us know. We'll give you the results at the end of the show. 2:33. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
You were my sun.
Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
You didn't know all the ways I loved you. No. So you took a chance, made other plans. But I bet you didn't think that they would come crashing down. No. You don't have to say what you did. I already know.
Next question. It's a legitimate question.
Next question.
Next question, please.
Next question on the Annie Fry Show.
Oh man, here's my first question, and I'm saying it because it just happened to me again. Is there anything more annoying than getting on somebody's list for spam calls?
Ooh, man.
I really think it's a unifying bipartisan, tripartisan, nonpartisan issue. If you could get people to stop being able to get your phone number and hound you. I don't want solar. I don't want to change my electrical. I don't know who Corey is. Corey is not in my phone number. Corey, somewhere out there right now. People are looking for you. And if you owe them money, please pay them. I don't. On a scale of 0 to 10, how annoying are spam calls to your cell phone?
9.
What's a 10?
10 would be if I got more of them. I don't get a lot of them.
I must have clicked on something or fell into something here. I'm not joking. I bet you I get 15 calls a day.
Wow.
I just quit answering my phone. If you're trying to get a hold of me and I'm not answering your calls, you need to send me a text message.
That is a lot. I'm very careful with who I give my phone number to as far as companies and stuff go. But I did somehow in the last year get on something. You know what I think it was? Is that I answered a poll at some point.
Yeah.
Because I like polls. And then you become part of a list. It's not a big list, but it's a list. And I'm on it.
I don't mind getting calls during campaign seasons for like, how do you feel about this candidate? I like to know what questions they're asking, particularly because I think it makes us do our job better. But roofers,
yeah,
electrical, oh my God, knock it off. I think you should be able to like register somewhere, which at one point they did in the no-call list.
What happened with that?
Scrap the big, beautiful bill and figure this out. It's driving me crazy. Next question.
Seems a little extreme, but
it's because you're not getting. I'm going to call you 15 times a day and ask you dumb questions.
You know I'm going to answer that, and I'm going to answer every question.
But I'm going to do it in an accent.
Okay.
I'm going to change my voice. What's the voice that you do for me?
Hey, this is Annie Fry.
Yeah.
Annie Fry.
People get confused with me all the time. I'm going to change my voice just like you.
I've asked this question. Actually, we've talked about this topic before, but it's becoming a reality. Self-driving cars. Would you take a self-driving Uber if you landed in a different city on vacation right tomorrow?
To me, I'm not opposed to being in a self-driving car at some point in time. I don't think that they're ready yet.
They're in San Francisco right now.
Yeah, everything in San Francisco is great.
On the streets. And they poop.
Well, they were in Waymo, too. Or they were in L.A., too, and Waymo had to move them out because people were calling them in.
What is Waymo?
Waymo's the driverless taxi company, and they were calling them in. The rioters were calling them in and then setting them on fire.
Yes, that's right. They had to
I don't
move
know
them
if
all
that's
out.
really like a driverless car problem.
It's not as much, but
more of a California problem.
Down the road from the original problem.
I don't think it's unrealistic to think that in our lifetime, driverless cars will be a normal thing, but I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet either. I like driving, but I also can't stand the idea of being driven by a computer. I don't like that because, your computer locks up, you get the blue screens, all of those other things.
Oh, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I can't wait for it because my guess is that based on what Elon's saying about self-driving Teslas, that it's going to be a lot cheaper than an Uber. So
I'm kind of thinking about a Tesla.
Are you?
Well, let's get to next question. That's going to be a lead in a
Next
tease.
question. Are you thinking about a Tesla?
No, it's not your turn. Brad?
So as an adult, which parent are you most like?
I thought you were going to ask me which of my parents I like the most.
All right, we could rearrange these words.
I'm most like the mom in the family. Is that what you mean?
No, your parent, Annie.
Which parent role do you fall into more, mom or dad?
Yeah. What do you identify
Delinquent,
as?
absent. No, not at all. It just depends on the issue. I'm like my mom in a lot of ways. I'm like my dad in a lot of ways. The real question, I think, kind of boils down to nature and nurture. What do you naturally like, and what did you learn, and how do you control your nature with experience? But it's I'm definitely a product of both my parents.
It's hard to say personality-wise because I definitely have characteristics from both too.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and maybe it's a little different now that I'm a little older, but growing up, I don't think I really looked like either one of my parents that much.
Do you know?
Probably a little bit more, but my son, Sinjin, doesn't really look that much like me either. I don't think. Now, some people will come along and say, oh, he looks just like you
Do
or
your
your
kids reflect the way you or your wife looked like when they were children?
Yes.
That's the creepy thing to me is I will see pictures of my daughters and little pictures of me, and we were raised in the 80s, so there were and I'm a middle child, there are 4 pictures of me. But there is definitely a genetic connection between my girls and me, but I think they favor Jared more than they favor me. My son.
Oh, that's tough.
I don't know when the last time you saw Charlie was, but I can't. It's thrown off my mom's spidey senses in the house. Like, you know how if you get used to the flow of a room and people are coming in and out of the room, but you can sense the footsteps or feel the presence, and you're like, okay, wife is in the room, husband is in the room. My son and my husband are the same person in my senses, and that's not good.
Because he's tall enough now.
He's man size. He's taller than he's the tallest person in our house.
His gait matches your husband's gait.
Something like that.
You should ask him to start doing some sort of weird stompy walk.
I've told him he needs to start paying for some stuff.
What about you?
I think that I when I was younger, I was like, why is my dad the way he is? And then as I've gotten older, I'm like, I'm my dad. I understand why he is the way he is.
Maybe he was the way he was because of you.
It's a distinct possibility. Actually, I would say it's probably true. I probably drove that poor man up the wall my entire childhood, but I appreciate all the lessons that he's taught me.
Yeah. Next question. Here's I'm requesting advice from you two and from the YouTube live chat. I have a 15-year-old son. His birthday is the day after Christmas. So our family is considering a new mode of transportation purchase in the home because he's 16. And we have 4 children in the house, so we need to be a lot of places at a lot of times. And him being able to drive to school, which is not terribly far from our house, is going to free up our obligation significantly. So I am in favor of him having a vehicle that he can use. Our van is paid off. We have payments on the Jeep. We were thinking we would buy him a vehicle. We don't want to spend more than $10,000. I don't really want to. I want to buy some old lady's car who's not driving anymore, basically. But since I don't have that, should I get him a vehicle? Should I get myself a vehicle and he drives the van? And I said something to him about it, and he was like, he doesn't care about driving the van, but I also don't care if he cares, but it's also nice if he's, excited about it. It's a nice van. What would you do?
I would look forward to getting the craziest car I could possibly get.
For?
Myself. Like a dump truck or a Rolls Royce.
This is really helpful.
Just
Your response is a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, but an old one. Not a classic one, but one that has lost all of its value because it's the only way I can afford it. But something really crazy.
Do you have anything helpful?
One of those Japanese K trucks?
The answer's no. I'm going to read comments here. Brad?
Where I'm at, I think back to my childhood. My parents had a minivan, and I would drive it a lot. And a teenage boy with a minivan. Now, laws have changed about who you can have in and ride with you, but a teenage boy with a minivan seems like a recipe for disaster to me.
Why?
Because we are irresponsible. So we would load it up with kids.
Charlie appreciates your thoughts.
This is what we would do. We would load it up with kids, and then we would go do something and get ourselves in trouble, and then bring the minivan back all filthy and covered in dirt and all that other stuff.
So he cleans it or he doesn't drive it again.
Right.
And also, the thought of my son driving the minivan that has friends in it, and he has good friends, so I'm not worried about his friends. I am more interested in him being the person who's in charge than turning it over to somebody who I wouldn't know.
Which I would agree with that statement. Charlie's a great kid. I wouldn't
most of the time.
I wouldn't worry about him as much as I would worry about me at that age. But that's my only concern. That and
you also have to remember, Brad, we have 6 people in our house.
Yes,
so if you
in.
limit the seating in the next vehicle, that's really another crux here that is difficult. Is I want him to be able to go pick up other kids or whatever. So he doesn't necessarily need to be able to fit 6 people in the car. Mm-hmm. But if our family is going to utilize that car for any purpose, we would need to. But it has to at least be able to fit 5.
Yeah.
I'm opposed to sedans or whatever because they make me feel like they're not as safe. Like a small car makes me feel like he would lose a battle.
What about if it's a big sedan, though? Not, you know what I mean?
Like a 1976 Lincoln.
No, we're not buying old cars. That's not. I mean, we can buy used cars, but we're not buying old cars. And here's another thing to think of. He does all of his permit driving in cars that have cameras all over the place. Like, he's used to driving with that technology. Is it good for him to know how to drive a car without that technology? Absolutely. Value that for sure. But the technology is helpful, and I'd have to buy the vehicle early enough that he gets enough permit driving done in a vehicle where he has to check his mirrors only because there is no camera or beeping sound that says, hey, slow down or stop. Should I get a car? I mean, especially with the car payment. If I could find the right car that was cheap, I wouldn't really care what it was. But it has to be a safe car.
Yeah. You should probably get a used car.
Oh, definitely definitely used.
Like a new used car for him.
Yeah.
That way it's...
I like my minivan, too. Like, I'm not looking to get out of my minivan. I'm looking around at cars right now, and I'm driving, and I'm like, there's nothing that I'm like, I really want that.
And not that this is the most important thing in the world, but it is nice if you're going to start driving to have a new to you car, not to be driving your parents' car. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that, but it is just a nice little extra added gift.
Yeah.
To be able to drive your own car.
Well, we're going to take a break, and I'm going to read some of your comments here on the YouTube channel. When we come back, we'll take some of your questions while we wrap up the show here on a rainy Friday afternoon. It's been coming down. It's supposed to be coming in and out. We'll see how much we get. I heard that there were some places in the Metro East that got 1 to 2 inches, which is crazy. That happened this afternoon. We'll take a quick break. Results of the YouTube live chat poll. Which do you prefer, 105-degree heat index or -5-degree wind chill? We'll be right back.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
STS Armory online at sts-armory.com. I loved going to the grand reopening last weekend at their brand new building, which is amazing. Have you gone to it yet? It's in Pontoon Beach, and it's big red building, and you are going to be able to see some of the stuff that they have in stock there, the accessories you need. They've got merchandise now. That's wonderful. I love it. So many cool things at STS Armory, but also the knowledge that they carry at STS. When it comes to owning firearms, if you need to preserve firearms, if you need to replace something on a firearm, if you want to replace a firearm, they have consignment opportunities there as well. STS Armory, they are at the forefront of the Second Amendment in the state of Illinois, and they are a destination for my family to make sure that we are responsibly prepared with our Second Amendment devices in our house. If you're interested in buying a new firearm, merchandise, if you're interested in buying ammunition, safety, security devices, or even taking classes like your conceal and carry class, STS Armory is ready to help. Online at sts-armory.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon, and whether you're looking for independent living, assisted living, or memory care, New Perspective gives you the freedom to live the life you love with just the right support. Beautiful apartments, amazing dining, plenty of activities. Check out npseniorliving.com today. New Perspective Senior Living, a friendlier approach to senior living.
You had a solid retirement dream, sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But with an unpredictable economy and the future feeling uncertain, you're wondering if that equity will still be there when you're ready. What if you could bank that equity right now? With Truehold, you can sell your home for its current value so you can access your equity today. You can bank the cash now and stay in the home you love with an easy standard lease. Truehold even covers property taxes, insurance, and repairs. And since Truehold hands over your equity in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you like. Don't let a shifting economy put your hard-earned equity at risk. Visit Truehold.com and receive their competitive offer on your home in just 48 hours, based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
Tony La Russa here. Men, are you running out of stamina rounding third base? If so, call my friends at Victory Men's Health in O'Fallon, Illinois. Scoring at home is important, just as important as crossing the plate with the winning run. VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
Good Friday afternoon. It's Mark Reardon. We are getting set for a Reardon Roundtable. State Rep Steve Butts is here. The former mayor of Ferguson, James Knowles, and Jane Duker. Of course, it all comes up plenty to chew on, including the appointment of the new police commission in St. Louis. It all starts after Fox News at 3.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. Let us know what your vote is. Which do you prefer, the hot, hot heat or the freezing negative degree wind chill on the Annie Fry YouTube channel? We're doing a little Ask Us Anything. Next question here. And I had one written down I wanted to ask you guys, and I was like taking notes on this as I went. But who is it? What kind of musical artist? It could. I was thinking initially singing, but then I thought you could probably add in instruments as well. But name an artist or artists that you would just sit and listen to them do anything. Like if they have a song and you've not heard it before, it's just as great as everything you've ever heard before. My three are Chris Stapleton, John Mayer, and Michael W. Smith.
Oh, Michael W. Smith. Wow.
His voice, I mean, I was raised with Christian contemporary music kind of being integrated into my childhood, but he has such a great storytelling voice. It's just really a tangible, I just love his voice.
Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd. He doesn't do a lot new, but when he does, I'm always interested to see what it is. And it's usually decent just because he's an unbelievable guitarist. He's not like a super great songwriter on his own, but he's such a good guitarist. I love, so the band that I drove up to Chicago recently, the artist to see.
Did you ever get your picture?
I never got a single picture from that event where I'm assassinating a puppet.
It'll come out in your campaign.
Yeah. Look at this guy. He's a killer.
Vicky says John Mayer, Jackson Browne, and Bonnie Raitt. It's interesting choices.
I can't think of my last one. Maybe Supergrass, but they don't make. None of these bands really make a whole lot anymore.
Kevin says Prince. He's definitely one of those voices that, like, if you like one song, you're gonna like them all because it's so unique. I'm not really the person who's begging for more Prince, but Purple Rain did come on in the car the other day, 2 nights ago, and my kids were singing it, and I was very impressed. And then I said something about Simon and Garfunkel, and because that was another one. Like, I can listen to Simon and Garfunkel just do their thing. They did not know Simon and Garfunkel. I almost told Ethan, make all the songs Simon and Garfunkel songs on a show. We might do that one day. What about you, Brad?
I really like Eric Clapton and his guitar, so I could listen to him play guitar forever. Another group that I like, and it's just a unique sound, is Mainskin. I don't know if you guys have heard them. I really like them. They just got a unique different sounding voice and lead singer and sound. It kind of old school, but with a new sound to it. And then the last person would be Charlie Puth. I don't know if you guys have heard of him or not, but he can make music out of almost anything, and that just fascinates me.
Next question, Ryan?
Pull up one from a listener here, Lionheart. Whoops.
I
don't.
Go ahead. You have to pull it back up again.
Okay, let me see what happened to it. He asks, if two vegans are arguing, is that still called having a beef?
Yeah.
All right, next one. Next question. Do you have any nervous habits?
Yeah. I didn't know this until I bruised myself. But I hold my hands, and I know this because I was assistant coach for basketball. My husband's the head coach. I head coach volleyball. He head coaches basketball, at least up until this last year he did. And I sit on the bench and help navigate, like, playing time and whatever. And I put my right hand, like I was going to go in to shake somebody's hand across the front of me, and then I put my other hand, like, interlocking my thumbs, and I rub the inside part of my thumb. I just sit there and hold it and rub it really tightly. And I didn't know that I did it until we got done with this one tournament. We ended up winning 2 points, third place in a big tournament. And I had a bruise on my hand. Like, my whole hand had spiraled out into a bruise because the whole tournament I had been sitting there and holding it tight. And I did not know that. That's my nervous habit.
I pop my knuckles all the time.
Because you're nervous?
But not because I'm nervous. I just do it all the time. I don't think I'm nervous, but I know people think that looks nervous.
Are there anything else that you just do that has nothing to do with you being nervous?
No. I do. You know what I've noticed recently is that when I'm stressed more than nervous, I kind of grind my teeth.
Oh, yeah? And that's cause tension and stress in your jaw and give you headaches.
Yeah, and I'm doing that more.
What about you, Brad?
I kind of do the teeth grinding. I'll catch myself doing the teeth grinding thing, but the other thing that I do is I'll either bite or pick at my fingernails, and that's really when I'm getting super nervous or frustrated or worried. And then the weird thing is I'll yawn.
Good.
If I'm really nervous, I'll yawn.
Next question, Brad. You got one?
Yeah. If each cast member was a person on The View, who would each cast member be?
Didn't we do this already?
Did we?
I think we might have.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. I didn't delete that one then.
Well, obviously, Ryan would be Whoopi.
I would be Whoopi, and I think that's pretty clear. You're Sunny Hostin.
Actually, let's not talk about us. Who would Ethan be? We'll just go around the room and do
Okay, who's Ethan?
Joy. Red hair?
Red hair.
Gingers. Gingers stick together.
I would say, of everybody on The View, Ethan would probably be Joy Behar.
Joy Behar and a little Whoopi and a little Sunny Hostin all mixed together.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what he brings to the table.
Anna Navarro.
Is he coming in here to do the poll? Or did he quit?
I think he is, but I thought he'd be in here by now, too.
I did, too. All right. I guess we'll just end it there.
Yeah.
Which do you prefer? Temperature-wise, this has been a very hot week, very miserable in the heat. Hopefully you've stayed inside or had a good place to cool off. Do you prefer a 105-degree heat index or a negative 5-degree wind chill? Brad, what about you?
I would rather be hot than cold, so give me the 105.
Ryan?
Almost always cold in these two extremes. I'll take the heat.
Yeah, I'm taking the heat as well, as did 66% of you all, 251 votes. Prefer what it is right now. We are closer to next Christmas than we are to last Christmas, folks. Yay! Welcome, it's Christmas time. I was in Michael's yesterday. They have Halloween stuff out. It stopped me in my tracks.
Really?
Yes. Thank you for being with us here today. A reminder, AnnieFryShow.com for podcasts, for everything you want with The Annie Fry Show. You can also stream us live on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Keep it right there and keep it here on 97.1 FM Talk. Mark Reardon is next.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040. 800 586-4040.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
It's been more than 60 years since St. Louis was hit by a tornado of the scale we're witnessing. The Salvation Army has been in St. Louis providing relief for over 160 years and responded immediately following the latest round of storms. How can you help? The Salvation Army needs monetary donations so that needs can be addressed immediately. And as we look to long-term recovery, 100% of donations go directly to storm survivors. Donate at salrmy.us/mid-disaster or call 1-800-SAL-ARMY.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement